Now, it's important here to keep your wits about you because we're not going to tell you a thing about this room. It's super creepy, super secret, and we look forward to you guys diving into this one at the time of release.
So we've got some terrible monsters, and your lowly level 1 deck isn't going to cut it. So we need you to get better. We talked a lot about what are the forms of progression that we want to give you, and we settled on 3. First, you're going to find passive upgrades. You'll find 2 of these over the course of your run, and they'll just make you better. You're just better for the whole rest of the run. Maybe your minions are bigger. They have +1/+1. Maybe your opponent's minions cost more mana. But whichever passives you choose, the rest of your run, you're just a more powerful adventurer. That's pretty cool. So the passives are cool, but the treasures are crazy. You're going to find 2 of these on the course of your run as well, and they are insane. These are cards so horrifying, we can only let you play them against the AI. Let's take a look at the Gloves of Mugging. You steal 3 cards from your opponent's hand, so they lose 3 and you get 3. It's pretty good. Even crazier, we have the Rod of Roasting. This just fires pyroblasts until somebody dies.
Possibly my favorite text in the expansion.
It ends games pretty quickly. So treasures are awesome, passives are great, but the main way that you're going to customize your deck and the main way that you can show that you deserve to conquer the Cobalt Catacombs are through piles of loot. Every single boss you beat has 3 piles of loot, each with 3 cards in them. And so you'll be able to choose one of these at the end of every encounter to add to your deck. These each are pulled from synergistic themes, things like frost spells or unique cards that take advantage of Reno Jackson or Inkmaster Solia. So you'll get to make one of these choices after every single boss, so that gives you a huge amount of opportunity to customize your deck and really make it feel like your own. These loot piles don't respect any of the normal deck building rules, so if you ended up not getting the Rod of Roasting and you want to mimic that behavior, you can take 10 Pyroblasts if they're offered to you. It might take you a few tries to get there, but you can build the craziest decks you can possibly imagine using, as Dave mentioned, cards from all of Hearthstone's history. So that's pretty awesome, and the amount of customization you have here is basically unlimited.
So I know what you're thinking. Gosh, I wish somebody was here to provide a recap for us so we know just how many numbers have been thrown out. Well, wait no more. We've got 9 classes to pick from, 48 possible encounters of bosses in groups of 8 as they get put into an 8-card boss deck, and 40 treasures. How many combinatorics are we talking here? How many options?
I'm glad you asked, because we wanted to figure it out. With all those encounters and all those treasures and all those loot cards and all the different classes, we tried to figure out how many combinations are possible. How many different things could you see during a dungeon run? So we assembled a team of crack kobold mathemagicians to do the math for us. They put their candles together, and over the course of many weeks and many, many snacks, the number they came up with was 1.4. Cobillion! Cobillion! Can you believe it?
That is amazing. How big is that?
We have no idea. It turns out kobolds are terrible at math. This was a bad idea. It's a lot. It's a whole bunch. That's the thing that excites us most about the dungeon run, is we don't have any idea how many combinations are possible. It's going to be different every time you play. That's what makes it so exciting. We can't wait for you guys to try it out next month. Which brings us to our final chapter, which is all about you. Are you guys ready for Kobolds and Catacombs? Are you guys ready to delve into the dungeon run? Well, the kobolds are ready for you. Dig secret doors and ready pikes. Dig hidden pits with sharpened spikes. Hide tricks and traps and trials around. They will persist. None can resist. A staircase leading down. That is Kobolds and Catacombs.
We are incredibly excited for this expansion. If you're excited too, you can pre-order now on our website or starting next week in the client. We showed off 14 cards today, and they are pretty cool. We'll start showing off more cards on November 20th, so stay tuned.
Guys, we couldn't be more happy to have spent the last 45 minutes with you here today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your obviously busy BlizzCon schedule with which to do it. We'd like to invite you over to the North Hall, where many of us will be throughout the course of the convention, and spend some time delving into the catacombs on your own. Until then, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of the convention.
Thank you, BlizzCon.
Thank you for attending the Hearthstone What's Next panel. Up next, the Overwatch What's Next panel.
You know, let's say a Burning Crusade server, they could just redo a vanilla server after that with like kind of a progression system in the same way that we see with Diablo 3 seasons.
I want to hear this from all of you too, because I'm going to use an analogy right now. We know these usually go terribly awry, but let's say for your birthday, you were given a pony and a Lamborghini, right? All right, think about it. Think about it, because those are both things that everybody wants, ponies and Lamborghinis.
Okay.
So now you need to decide what you want to ride, your pony or your Lamborghini. So you would ride the Lamborghini every time.
Lamborghini.
So let's say that the Lamborghini is now 8-0. But no, the big question is they're different, right? They're very different experiences, but at the same time they both take you places. And but sometimes when you're this is terrible. So
This is a terrible analogy. Who got this guy on the stage?
You want to do both, right? That's what you're saying. And so like, because like
how are you going to
sometimes
split your play time between Legacy and 8-0?
Well, that's why they put it out. That's why they put it out during the lull, so people don't have to split their time and they can just go over to that and they're going to be happy. So that's why. And it's like sometimes if I had a Lamborghini, sometimes I might want to ride the horse too. You know, like ride the horse down to the C-Mart or 7-Eleven and get a Slurpee. Like that sounds great.
Outside of Taco Bell every.
Well, yes, so everybody knows I have it.
No, exactly.
Of course.
Exactly. So I think that's the main thing, though, is we already start to see, okay, when am I going to give this my attention? When am I going to give this version my attention? So I would like to see, actually, if it's possible, it kind of come out in those lull periods, and then all of a sudden you go on, you really get to jam on those vanilla servers.
Well, that would be ideal, and that would also give players extra things to do. And if people were able to just go over and play legacy servers whenever the live servers, like everything that they wanted to do has been done, it would give them a whole other world, literally, of content. And I think that'd be amazing, even for the people that don't like it, and it would even probably help the live servers, because it would give people that are playing on the legacy servers an opportunity to try the new game as well. A lot of people bring up the point that, only people are going to quit and play Legacy. There are going to be many people who play Legacy and they're like, yeah, this is fun. They try out the actual game and they play that too. So it's a win-win.
I also think that there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to play both. You can say, okay, we have raid nights on Wednesdays on the vanilla servers, and the rest of the days we raid on the normal servers. And that's something that will happen fairly often.
I mean, it depends on how much time you can allocate to playing World of Warcraft in your life.
Hey, once vanilla servers are back, time is off the question.
I'm going to be completely honest. I could see myself going way more hardcore on vanilla servers when they do come
Really?
back. Yeah, because I actually want to be good. Like, I was so bad in vanilla. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I was like 8 or something.
I never even raided in vanilla.
Can you imagine being good in vanilla? Like, we should just be able to like stomp it, right? I mean, like,
it's gonna be a joke.
Like think about mechanically how much the game's changed. Like, I didn't know how to kick probably until I was 14.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I'm 27 and I still don't know.
I mean, just only looking at the meter ever.
One thing that I wanted to you guys to maybe chime in is, they said that they would take some time to produce some Blizzard quality servers. Yeah. And what does that mean? Does that mean that the
means
quality?
They're going to be good.
Yeah, true, always. But will they implement LFR in vanilla? Will they implement queuing? No.
Why are you guys looking at me when he asked that question? Give me a break.
I mean,
I don't think they'll change it at all.
You don't think so?
I think that it's going to straight up be vanilla. I just think it's going to work. Like, I think that that's the main thing that they're going to make sure of, because one of the things that they called back to as well, they were like, we want to give you vanilla, but not with the launch experience of vanilla, right? So maybe the servers will be as beefed up as we currently have, but it'll feel the exact same.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that it's going to be like it was, and I mean, a lot of people have like ways that they can play vanilla now, but none of them are very good, and all of them are very tainted by a dozen different problems behind the scenes that people probably don't even know about. And so seeing a legitimate vanilla Blizzard experience, I think would be amazing, not only for people that are going to go back and play it for nostalgia, but also for the new players to give them that same experience that a lot of people got 10 years ago, and that's one of the big reasons why they're in this room today.
All right, starting with you, Alan. What do you think you're actually going to play on vanilla, though?
What am I going to play?
Are you? Yeah.
Oh, I kind of want to. Okay, so story time.
Vanilla.
In Burning Crusade, I used to be a warrior, and I used to be a really bad warrior. I used to try to tank and lost aggro every time. I got kicked from many guilds, so I want to redeem myself, and I want to play a warrior. So I might tank.
No. Okay, that's cool. Jury warriors are so broken in vanilla.
That's why I'm going to play one.
Yeah. All right, so I have basically, my future could either be I play Affliction Warlock again and only put up COE, or
they have Shadow Bolt.
They do have Shadow Bolt. All I would be doing is Curse of Elements, I feel like, and then mages just get to dump on me on the meters.
Frostbolt.
I think I might just play mage. Sophia, what do you think you're going to be playing?
I'm absolutely going to be playing priest.
God,
absolutely.
A priest?
Of course, right?
Get Benediction.
That's what I was just going to say. You know, my transmog currently with one of my many priests is with Benediction, and it's like, that's my baby. You know, I can't wait to play and then do the quests for Benediction, because they were hard as hell, and I did them in Wrath of the Lich King, and it was still hard, and I still died on a level 60 quest. So I am so excited about that.
It's going to be amazing.
Throughout that entire thing, I feel like Asmongold was trying to mentally construct your transmog just to rate it. I saw his face, he was like...
Do you want to hear about it?
Sure.
It's the yellow set from Darkmoon Faire. It's the yellow set.
Why?
With the Benediction, because it's yellow, because it's gold, it matches.
What are you, a banana?
I'm a banana. It's awesome, come on.
A healing banana.
Get out of here, it's so good. She looks amazing. I mean, it's one of the priests, I have like 5.
Do you mind if I take that name for Legacy?
Healing banana?
Healing banana. Guys, look me up. I'll be there. Healing banana.
That would be
Healing banana.
me, what the hell?
Yeah.
So all of that said, we've kind of touched on legacy servers and the fact that we're all pretty excited.
Yes.
What do you think? I touched on the fact that it's going to be a lot easier than it was the first time.
It's a joke. I mean, go look at all the bosses in Next. I mean, like, what's Thaddeus? You go left or you go right. You got a plus, you go right. You got a minus, you go left. That's it.
Like
that's the whole thing. It's done.
No, but at the same time, you
swaps,
forget.
doesn't it?
You
Like,
forget.
that's the most complex fight probably in Next.
I don't think that's the
Yeah, it
hardest thing
swaps
about
every
vanilla.
15 seconds. The
I think
hardest
it
part about
made it.
vanilla was because you had to go on Thoughtbot to figure anything out. And
That's
then,
gone.
and then
Not even
you're
that.
playing on a computer from 1995.
Exactly, that was the hardest part. You know, you had a
think it was-
potato
yeah, you're
PC
playing on a
and
Game
you're running
Boy.
with 3 FPS. Exactly.
And
Yeah.
we were the world wasn't good at video games yet. Like straight up, like you couldn't. Like when you look right now, all of a sudden everyone kind of knows what they're doing. Look at some of the people, like you look at players from like Method, for example, and figure out how to do different things with your rotation. Like there's so many resources out there. People are just really good at video games now, and every year we get better and better and better and better because that's the goal of humanity, I think, as a whole. I'm sorry to get really
To get better at video games?
Yeah, that's it. That's our goal.
Hey, that's my goal, right?
That's right.
But when vanilla came out, people weren't good yet. Like I'll just be completely honest. Like we weren't good yet.
No.
And now we're good.
That's
we're
right.
really good.
We're good.
Well, people are going to stomp the raids.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, it's going to happen. The vanilla is not about being hard. It was hard back then in a way, but the hardest part about 40-man raids was 40 people, right? That was the hardest thing, getting everybody to get in there and not having people cry and hate each other and leave the guild. Like, that was the real difficulty about vanilla, and it was that personal interaction and that social atmosphere that really built the game.
I feel like you were probably one of those guys making people cry. And
Yeah, probably.
Well, I was in Burning Crusade. I was too young because I sounded like a kid. I was like 16, right? And so then whenever I got older, that's whenever I got to make people
is that
cry.
how old we were?
I was 16.
I was saying we're the same age, so I've been saying that I was 8 and I was 16. So I
I think I was like 15 when it started, but I started at the end of vanilla, so I
was
just saw my friends play raid, and I was like, okay, maybe one day I'll raid.
I was a dumb 15-year-old then. I'm just like remembering how I actually played the game, but I'm really excited to get in there, and I kind of want to get Scarab Board. Like that's the main thing.
If you're going to be in my
everyone-
guild, I'm going to be getting Scarab Board.
No.
I
No,
think
you're gonna be
now that
playing
you
against
saw
everyone.
it, it's only on my mind. Like I really, really want Scareboard.
Yeah.
So you better not be on my
Benediction all the
server.
way.
Funny.
That's
So we have basically legacy servers eventually. We
Yeah,
know that they're eventually gonna be coming.
no time date, nothing like that. I would assume that they're going to come out towards the end of the next expansion.
So
Like,
that gives us
that's what I
time
would
to
expect.
prepare, though.
Oh
Mentally.
yes.
Time to prepare.
Oh, yes.
Now the main thing is we're going to be getting ready for the new expansion. We still have a little bit of Legion ahead of us as well.
That's right.
And this new tier looks really exciting.
Yes.
Did they announce anything about like when it's going to be coming out?
No, no real estate.
I wonder if that will be the main thing that I want to talk about right now. We only have a few minutes left before we have to hop off the stage. But what else do you think we'll actually learn about while we're here at BlizzCon? Because that's always kind of the thing. You have the overarching announcement. You see the giant bucket, and then it starts to fill up over the course of the week.
You know that I was talking to a friend of ours, and he said that we will be able to stream the future expansions content tomorrow.
Oh boy.
Whoa.
oh boy, indeed.
Well, I believe people are streaming already, so I think we'll be able to try out at least the zones.
Okay, so that's going to be the new zones, right?
Yep.
So I wonder if you see the new zones, inherently you have to play a tune, so you might actually even see some of the.
I don't think that they're going to let you play the sub races. I mean, they might be able to, but I'm assuming they're probably tooling all those for all of the old items and everything, because that would probably take a long time. I mean, the main thing that I would expect to probably see is more clarifications on systems. So what's going to happen with the legendary system? What's going to happen with the artifact power, artifact weapon system? What's going to happen, if anything, with the Titan forging system? Are we going to have, static gem slots again, reforging, item upgrades, etc.? Those answers will probably come out tomorrow or later on today. And that's at least what I'm hoping for.
What are the other panels that are actually going down?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep track of everything right now, but this BlizzCon's been absolutely crazy.
It's just the morning. Well, it's just like the first day, the first beginning.
Like
is
information
already
overload.
manic. It's
Yeah,
information overload. Absolutely.
I cried a little bit.
I absolutely cried. I was there just like, oh my god.
It's crazy that the emissary, like, it's not crazy. Like the emissary and the world quest system was great to pass time.
Yes.
Like it was a great filler, and they said that they were really, really happy. I just hope that legendaries aren't in the emissary chests. I just hope that you can earn them through the raids.
I hope they're redesigned, and
Yeah.
I hope that they work completely differently.
But here's the
Yeah.
thing, and there are always upsides and downsides to everything.
Yeah.
There was a level of excitement every time that you actually did open one of those boxes, but I think that
It diminished.
It's diminishing indeed.
But there are also maybe different ways to find it when we jump in. Maybe some of that can be centered around the medallion. I think that's kind of one of the things that I want to see, even if it's not necessarily in like a huge power spike way. I would love to see if Emissary Quest maybe affected the medallion in ways that changed your utility as a player.
I think the main thing that they have to overcome is to prevent RNG from defining your character. And that's something that Legion...
Still keep some RNG.
Oh, I'm not saying I don't hate RNG. What I hate is whenever
Collect
RNG
melts,
is
so,
yeah, exactly. And I don't hate RNG at all. But whenever if you get the bad legendary, you're 10, 20% DPS behind people. And yes, of course they did rebalance them, but there are still the best and the worst legendaries. And it's the same with Titan Forging as well. If they're able to give players alternatives for that, I think that the expansion will probably be a lot more rewarding for people that like to work towards things.
Now, we're just running out of time here, and as you can
Right.
see, we barely scraped the surface, and we're going to be finding out a lot more information soon. So we'll definitely be doing an All-Craft next week where we can actually deep dive into everything, so be sure to stay tuned. But I want to take a second here to thank all of you, because we wouldn't be here at BlizzCon on this stage right now if we didn't have the support from you guys. It's been absolutely insane. I still can't even believe that this is real life. So thank you all. Thank you all. And also, thank you, Blizzard, for letting us up
Thank
here
you
on the
guys
stage.
so much.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much. Like, we didn't think that 8 months later, this project that we started out for fun, like just friends having a chat on stream,
Asmongold was supposed to be our
in this
guest,
way.
and he
was
just
supposed
stayed
to
on
be
the
a
show.
guest.
I just never left.
Yeah, he was just too comfy with us.
We didn't even, I personally didn't even know Zach, and then we jumped in, and he was just like, hey, do you guys mind if I stay?
It's like you guys just called me the next week. Like, hey, do you want to be on this week? I'm like, yeah, sure.
Let's do
All right,
it.
yeah, I've got some more stuff to complain about. Let's go.
All right, thank you so much, Sophia, too,
Thank
for
you
coming
so
on.
much for having me. It's
All
been
right.
my pleasure.
That's going to do it for us. We'll see
welcome to the Overwatch What's Next panel.
Thank you. Hello. Hey guys. Oh. All right. Hello, BlizzCon. What's up? How's everyone doing? All right, everyone, check out opening ceremony. Saw all of the new stuff we're gonna be talking about today. Obviously, we have new hero, Moira. Yeah. We've got a new map, Blizzard World. That'll be fun to talk about. And, you know, maybe a couple surprises. Ooh. So I thought we got a lot of stuff to talk about, so we'll start off, get right into it. I am Michael Chu. I'm the lead writer on Overwatch.
He deserves it.
Hi, everybody. I'm Arnold Sang. I'm Arnold Sang, and I'm the assistant art director on Overwatch.
I'm Jeff Goodman, the lead hero designer on Overwatch. Still working on Overwatch.
I'm Aaron Keller. I'm the assistant game director.
All right, so let's get started. Obviously, in opening ceremonies today, you got to see a little short video of Moira in action. Maybe some of you have had a chance to check her out on the floor. But Jeff promised, he said we had a little video for you in case maybe you had some questions about her story, who this character, who Moira is. So let's check it out.
We stand on the brink of a breakthrough in human evolution. I have dedicated my life to unraveling its secrets. I take risks that others would consider to be unwise, for I do not share their caution. Overwatch held back the pace of scientific discovery for decades. They believed my methods were too radical, too controversial, and they tried to silence me. But there were others in the shadows, searching for ways to circumvent their rules. Freed from my shackles, the pace of our research hastened. Together, we delved deeper into those areas forbidden by law, by morality, and by fear. New patrons emerged who possessed an appetite for my discoveries. And with this knowledge, what new world could we build?
Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I got some chills there. When I hear that voice, I start getting a little nervous. Probably because I've been victimized by her a little bit in playtests. So the question obviously is, who is Moira? Well, most importantly, Moira is that new support healer character that you've been waiting for. Now, just to get into her story a little bit, you know, what I think is really interesting about Moira is she is a scientist, and obviously we have a lot of scientists in the cast already, and she is a little different because some of the other scientists are more interested in like creating inventions or I think I'm supposed to have some
conquering the world.
Yeah, sorry. Forward. Okay, so Moira is a scientist. She's not so much interested in conquering the world, even though she has she's allied herself with people who might have proclivities in that direction. She's really just into the actual science. She wants to understand the fundamentals of human life and how they can be manipulated. She is a geneticist, and that is her primary goal, and that's all she wants. But the thing is that the thing that makes her villainous is that she doesn't quite have like some of the morals that the rest of us are.
Very flexible.
She's very flexible. You know, she doesn't want anything to get in the way of her science. So when someone tries to stop her from doing something or tells her that she needs to take more time, she has no patience for that. She wants to plow forward and find out these discoveries and make, you know, these new inventions to figure out how humans are hardwired. So the really interesting thing about her is that when we created Moira, we wanted her to have all these connections to characters throughout Overwatch history through different groups. So like we said before, she was recruited by Gabriel Reyes to be a member of Blackwatch. And during that time, she had relationships with the Blackwatch crew, McCree, Genji. They all have their own sort of likes and dislikes for each other. Reyes wanted someone who could help advise him on some matters of genetics that he was interested in, shall we say.
Suddenly.
And then
Very mysterious.
very mysterious, yes. Almost maybe a connection there. Yes, there's a connection there, obviously. And the other thing is that in the present day, Moira has allied herself with Talon now that Overwatch is gone. When you think about Moira's goals, figuring out these building blocks of human evolution and her need to like push forward science at any cost, it really meshes well with the goal of Talon. And so she has found new patrons like Doomfist. So that's sort of the story background of Moira, and I'm going to hand it over to Arnold now so he can talk a little bit about the development of her art.
Cool. Thanks, Mike. So it's always interesting to think back on the ideation of a hero. How do we start? We get that question a lot. And with Moira, it was a little bit of gameplay and a little bit of story. We heard your feedback. You guys wanted a new healer in the game. We felt the same way.
Totally.
Jeff felt the same way. So we really started there. And we have a lot of benevolent healers in the game. We have an angel, we have a monk, a mother, and the most upbeat, like positive DJ that you've ever met. So we felt like it was time for something a little bit more morally ambiguous, a little bit more shady. So we started there, and we started with these concepts. And already right away, you can kind of see Moira there. There's that immediate kind of like androgynous face, that mysterious appeal that she had. So we really gravitated towards these concepts. We started with the one on the right, actually, with all the crazy tentacles. And everybody really liked that concept.
I thought it was cool, but I was like, I don't know how I'm going to use these tentacles. That looks sweet.
Yeah, I mean, like it's one thing for it to be a very unique and cool silhouette, but it's another thing to wrap like gameplay around that, right? You really want someone that has tentacles to have abilities that might reflect those visuals. So we tried something a little bit more conventional. We tried, okay, maybe we'll just give her something a little bit more toned down, maybe like a giant two-handed spray cannon. This is where we kind of started to layer in the science vibe to it. You can see some of those tubes starting to get in there. But it started to look a little, I don't know, maybe it might be confused with Zarya on the battlefield with that same silhouette. So we wanted to come up with something different. We took a step back, did a few thumbnails to really dive deep into what kind of weapons does Moira use, for healing, for damaging her opponent. And we tried a couple things. Ultimately, there's a couple things from these concepts that we really liked. And on the one on the far left, you'll see that, that character already kind of has Moira's outfit there. We really like that silhouette and that dark vibe that really spoke to like a Talon character or someone from Blackwatch. We tried that same red-haired, long, kind of like gaunt face on the second from the left, from the right, and we still really like that that version of Moira. And then there was something on that far right concept that we really liked as well. And if you guys remember last year when we announced Sombra, we showed some of her early concept art. One of those was called the Omni Blade, who later became Hanzo and Genji. But she had these like big sleeves with like these throwing daggers. So this was my way of kind of getting
that in there.
Trying to get the throwing dagger back into the game. But we really like the big sleeves. And I don't know if you guys can see it from here, but she's got the purple syringes on one side, and she's got this yellow energy on the other side. So that kind of kick-started the idea of this duality between her left and right hand. So taking those elements, we kind of meshed them all together to come up with the final concept for Moira. We integrated all the elements from the concepts, the thumbnails that we just showed, and started to really kick up the more science apparatus vibe. Now we started coming up with the idea of what if she's got the healing and the damage, and what if the tubes actually had this liquid that would change color when she used those different abilities? So we tried to work that into the game. We even tried a couple of different hairstyles, but we ultimately we really liked the red hair on her.
The tubes are actually a great touch because her gameplay is draining people of their energy and feeding it sort of as healing to your allies. And you can actually see when that happens, the tubes actually change colors, like it's actually directly converting the energy over to healing. It's an awesome touch.
And speaking of which, one of the things that really helped us flesh out that idea is because it's a first-person game, you're going to be seeing her hands a lot. This is the one of the only heroes that shows both of her hands on the screen, you know, like Zenyatta, like Doomfist. So her hands are everything. Those are her weapons, and we wanted to explore how she could express herself, deal damage, and heal. And the animators did a really great job at, like, you'll notice when you play her, when she's healing, it's this soothing motion where she's like, you know, there, you're all right. But then when she's using her decay move, she's really just like grasping at you and clawing at you and trying to drain your energy. So this is a concept from our senior concept artist, Ben Zhang, and he really knocked it out of the park to get that duality in there. And there might even be a little bit of story behind why that hand is like that.
Yeah, how did her hand get messed up? Was it perhaps close proximity to another sort of genetic anomaly or experimentation? Hard to say.
Hard to say.
I actually do remember that, changing the subject, that when we were really dialing the animations for the hands, like we were really concerned with like how that felt. Like it's not that she's like out of control when she's using that power.
Right,
she's 100% in command of it, and so she's really just like, that's how she shows her mastery.
It's very aggressive, like just clawing and pulling. Really like the idea of this like leech hero.
Yeah.
She was, you know, that life-sucking kind of vibe for her. Another thing we like to do on the concept side is figure out some movement studies, we like to call them. These are sketches we like to do for figuring out both abilities, the VFX, the poses for animation. These are some early sketches for her ultimate ability, Coalescence. One of the initial ideas, like she had all of her liquid kind of swirling around her.
Yeah, the original thing was, her original ult was all of her abilities would cool down a lot faster, have like no cooldown, and she would kind of be in hyper mode. And she also had this kind of beam attack that was kind of there also. And then we ended up kind of just like all ending on the beam attack because it was kind of the coolest part of the whole thing. So we kind of tweaked it as we went.
Yeah, so those are some of the concepts behind Moira, but it wouldn't really be a new hero announcement if we didn't show some awesome skins.
That's right.
So this is the first one for Moira. This one's called Oasis. She actually has a kind of a connection with Oasis, doesn't she?
Yeah, so currently, in addition to her duties as a scientist for Talon, Moira was also invited by the ministers of Oasis to become their minister of genetics. And so she's basically leading up their genetics research at the city. And this is, I guess, what she'd wear when she's over there.
Yeah. This one's also done by our concept artist, Ben Zhang, and he did the concept for the Oasis Symmetra as well. And we really love those visuals, and we couldn't wait to use it on another hero, and Moira seemed like the perfect fit. And the next one, my personal favorite.
So good. So good.
Yeah. This one we're calling Glam, and it's a tribute to glam rock from the 70s, you know, where they wear these outrageous outfits, crazy makeup, you know, super psychedelic colors, and the hairstyles were just out of control.
I love the lava lamp tubes. It's a nice touch.
Yeah. Instead of like the science liquid, she's got the lava lamp kind of effect on there. So this one's one of my favorites. But I'm sure you guys want to know more about her gameplay and how she works. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Jeff.
All right. So, thanks, guys. So, as we said, like we were hearing you guys' feedback, and we were definitely feeling the same thing. Like we just need more healers in the game. So we started sort of thinking, what have we done? What would be really cool? What would work with other heroes? What was just a cool, fresh idea? So she actually, on paper, originally really started as actually having a ton of health and trying to like leech health off of people, and then you should feed her own health to people. It ended up being sort of a balancing nightmare because it's like, what if I don't heal people and I just leech forever and you can't ever kill me? It's like, all right, that's a problem. So actually the way she ends up kind of working is in the same vein. She's got sort of the same feel to it, but it doesn't quite have that same design to it. But I'll walk you through all the abilities so you can see how she kind of works together. So her weapon's called Biotic Grasp. There's a primary fire and a secondary fire to it. The primary fire we call Regeneration. It's this kind of just spray. It's kind of visually a little bit like Maze Blaster, but it actually pierces all your allies. So you can actually heal multiple allies at the same time and kind of a big cone in front of you. It actually has a ton of throughput. You can heal a lot with this thing. But the only reason it's not overpowered, hopefully, is there's a meter controlling it, and as you can see kind of in this video on the right side, as you're using it, it kind of drains slowly, and it kind of regenerates pretty slowly by itself over time. But if you actually are trying to heal more, which hopefully you are, you can't really wait for that, so then her second part of this comes into play, which is the alternate fire, which is called Decay. This is kind of her damaging hand, and this is where she's actually draining the enemies. It does actually still leech some health to her, so she's actually healing off of it. It's not a ton, but it's enough to sort of top yourself off and everything. That's great. But the biggest important thing is it fills up that meter really fast. So you're healing people, but you also need to take time whenever you can to try to leech energy off your enemies so you can feed it to your allies. It's very, it's a very evil way to heal. It's kind of very sinister. She doesn't care. It's worth it. Her first ability we call Fade. This ability is, she basically disappears completely. It's complete invisibility, kind of like Sombra, but it's instant. There's no delay or anything. And then she reappears. It's less than a second, super fast, but you also get an intense movement speed boost. So you can hit it and then like go around a corner really quick, and to the enemy, you're just completely gone. You don't even know where you went. You can see you don't even go like super far, but you know, if a Winston's jumping on you, you can just go, whoop, I'm back here now, and you know, keep healing, keep doing damage. It's great. You notice it has some similarities to Reaper's Wraith form, which is, it's funny how that works out. She,
you know, we obviously there's a close relationship between Moira and Reyes/Reaper, and I think one of the fun things we were able to do is to sort of hint at some of those things in her ability.
It's like she's helping Reaper out, and it's like, you know, I think I can make this better. I have an idea.
Professional relationship.
Yes. Good call. Secondary,
you know what I'm talking about.
Second ability we call Biotic Orb. This also has two different modes, much like her primary and secondary fire, and it follows the same kind of pattern. So first thing you do when you hit those buttons, she pulls up those two orbs, and it represents the damage and the healing aspects. If you use the primary fire, you throw off the orb of regeneration, and that's sort of the yellow orb you see here. And these orbs can bounce around. They have like infinite bounce, so they can bounce all over like a small area or off ceilings, stuff like that. And if they ever get near allies, it will slow down and start healing them automatically. It has only so much it can heal. It has like a contained amount of healing in it, and it shrinks over time as it feeds it to everybody. But it's a great way to AoE heal. It's also really good at like longer range, because her range isn't super long, generally on her cone heal. So you can throw it like at a Pharah's really far away and try to get the save on her while you get close, you know, and be able to heal her with your primary fire. Or you could choose the alternate fire in this if you want to. They both share the same cooldown, so you have to pick which one you want. And the alternate fire is called Decay. Works basically exactly the same, it's just inverted. So you do damage to enemies. So it can also bounce around. This can be incredibly deadly in a small area where it's bouncing around a lot, especially because you can move and act freely while it's happening. So you can throw the orb into an area, chase somebody down, and start by grasping them, taking their damage in that way, and they're just taking a ton of damage all of a sudden. Kind of have to get out of there during that. But yeah,
I like to throw it into rooms and make my team run in there.
Yeah, yeah. That's always the
get out of here.
Be like Genji, get, go.
Fetch.
Yeah, it's great. Now her ultimate ability is Coalescence. Now this is sort of the ultimate, like she's got this whole dichotomy thing going on. She's always got to choose if she's healing or doing damage. Her ultimate is just like, nope, I get to do everything all at the same time, and it's super long range, really fat beam. She's kind of feeding both hands together and creating this beam that it heals allies that it's hitting and damages enemies that it's hitting. So you just want to hit everybody with it. In fact, in some maps we're playing, we get in this fights in these little corridors, and she's just like, I win. I don't care what's happening. Everything good is happening for me right now. Is
that the OPAF?
Yeah, pretty much.
We'll change the name for release.
Yeah, that's her last name. So there's also some other amazing properties to it. Since it pierces everything, it also includes barriers. So it pierces Reinhardt shields, Winston shields. So yeah, so it's hard to heal sometimes through those things, and you're just like, nope, I'm going to go through. And then Reinhardt's back there trying to protect his team. He's like, well, we can't really sit here anymore. I guess we have to move or something. And of course, if your team jumps in right afterwards, now they're getting healed by it also. So it's just this amazing sort of engage tool. Also, you can pick off those pesky Pharahs sometimes if you wing them. So that's kind of a breakdown of how all the abilities work individually. But we actually have a video to show you what it looks like when it's all put together.
We are bedeviled by the mysteries of creation. Science can reveal the truths that lie behind these many questions. What we learn can unlock the true potential of humanity. To the shadows. Tell me how this feels. Come to me and I will heal you. I will unmake you. Simple geometry.
Lights out.
Surrender to my will. Allow me to repair the damage. I feel unstoppable. My will made real.
Might have been something.
All right, so that was Moira, Overwatch's new support hero, and definitely go try her out now. Send us your feedback, even if it's just to tell us that yes, she is OPAF. But yeah, definitely let us know how you're liking her. But now to change tone, change subject a little bit, talk a little bit about the new map that we announced at opening ceremonies, Blizzard World. So, hey, you can clap for it. It's exciting.
It's very clap-worthy. This map is amazing.
So, I don't know if any of you were here at BlizzCon a couple years ago, but I remember it well because I think it might have been my first time up here on the main stage, and I was sitting next to our creative director, Chris Metzen, and someone asked a question, and Chris decided that he wanted to talk about kind of a fun idea that we'd had, which was the idea of a Blizzard amusement park. And he kept asking me, like, hey, should I just say something? And I was shaking my head like, no, don't say anything. Don't say anything. Too far, Chris. But he went ahead and did it anyways. And so that idea has been in the back of our minds, like pretty actively, to be fair, for the last couple of years. And finally, we thought, wouldn't it be fun to actually go ahead and make that? And so we've taken this idea, a name, Blizzard World, and now we've made it into an entire park. And so
yes.
So I'm the story guy, so I'm going to give you a little backstory on Blizzard World. Blizzard World is an amusement park. It is celebrating the worlds and universes of Blizzard Entertainment. It was built in Irvine, California. Obviously. And one important note from a story standpoint is that there is no Overwatch part of the park. So in the world of Overwatch, Blizzard Entertainment exists. It did not create the video game Overwatch or license a game from Overwatch. So there's no Overwatch in the park. This is celebrating the rest of Blizzard. But I'm going to hand it over now to... we're going to play that video again mainly just because we love it. And just let you see a little bit more of the park again.
Where you took your first steps in Azeroth. Where you confronted the Lord of Terror himself. Where you spawned your first Zergling rush. Sometimes, epic memories can only be made in an epic world. Your adventure, your community, your memories. See them come alive in your world. Blizzard World.
Epic fun detected.
Well met. Stay a while and listen to the fireworks. Come and visit Blizzard World. New adventures are waiting for you.
I can't wait to get on some rides.
For the Horde!
That would be great. I'm so excited to take you guys through Blizzard World. The whole team, all of Blizzard, is so excited about this map, and we thought that BlizzCon would be the ultimate place to show it to you guys. So Blizzard World is Overwatch's newest hybrid map. It is going to take players on an epic journey through the lands of Warcraft, StarCraft, and Diablo. Like our other hybrid maps, the match starts as a fight over the first control point. The defenders start in the Heroes of the Storm arcade, while the attackers will spawn in the Hearthstone Tavern. From here, the attackers can choose to attack the first point through the gates of Stormwind, or they can bypass the choke entirely by going through the Lost and Found Vikings. There's so many places to see and explore. There's flanking routes all throughout the first area, like the Fargo Deep Mine, Flight to Duskwood, or if you want, you can just stop off for a burger and some death wings at Snacksaramus.
What a great name, Snacksaramus.
It's a good name, right?
You should make something out of that.
The design of the first choke is more of a mini arena. There's multiple routes for both the attackers and the defenders to get here and also to access the high ground. As the attackers enter the area, they'll find an abundance of cover and several health packs in order for them to gain a foothold. And inevitably, the fighting sort of turns into this big rumble around the statue here. And ultimately, if the attackers are successful, the defenders kind of have to fall back towards the point further into the area. Now, when the attackers take the first point, they'll capture the payload and push it out of the Warcraft area and into the StarCraft area, past the siege tank, and around the pylon terrace. Now, this area is a really large circular arena. There's an abundance of high ground, and there's direct access to it for both the attackers and the defenders. The defenders can set up around the pylon above the cafe, and when they need to, they can drop off and directly contest the payload there. The attackers, if they want to, they can try to take the high ground and contest it against the defenders by taking a path up by the siege tank, or they can try to bypass it and sneak around through the Ghost Academy or through the Nexus Experience. There's also all sorts of flanking routes in here. There's a lot of interior opportunities either to attack the defenders or try to set up inside the Nexus Experience. There's a really great spot for Sombra to set up on the Mega Health Pack, and Symmetra can just create the meanest nest inside the pylon terrace. It's nasty. So once the attackers push the payload to the first checkpoint, they'll start pushing into the Diablo area, and their new spawn room will be the passenger loading area for the Reign of the Black King ride, while the defenders move all the way back into the park's command and control center. So here the attackers push the payload into Leoric's Manor and all the way to the throne of the Skeleton King himself. This area just exudes Diablo mood and flavor. All the lighting in here reminds you of Leoric's Manor. We have all sorts of props like the chandeliers and the shrines and the weapon racks that you can find in Diablo. You can break the barrels. Maybe you'll find some epic loot in here. Maybe there's some lost bit of lore to discover inside this area. Right here, this is actually a super cool Genji flanking route. You can run around the right. You just gotta watch out for the drop. This map was a labor of love for everybody on the team. We're all huge Blizzard fans on the Overwatch team. And a lot of the people that we have on the team worked all across the company. We have people that worked on this map that worked on World of Warcraft and Diablo and StarCraft and Heroes of the Storm and Hearthstone, and they all came together to provide so many different ideas about the park itself, from all the crazy rides that you can see in the background and in the gameplay areas, to all just even the cool signs for some of these rides, like the spawning pool and Lost and Found Vikings. Who's that in the spawning pool right there? you?
I don't know, but I think the water starts blue in the beginning of the day, and
We made special props for all the areas, from the inflatable Doomhammer to the treasure chest to the leather-bound copy of the Green Hills of Stranglethorn, Jeff Kaplan's original masterpiece.
His magnum opus.
Yes,
Those death wings.
There's souvenirs in each of the area that you can get. There's different flavor props that you can find for all of these different areas. We've packed so much into it, and there's so much more than we're showing you here. There's so much more detail, there's so much more passion and ideas, and there's a ton of little Easter eggs, not just in the art, but in the audio as well. As you run around, you'll hear the voices of Deckard Cain and the Adjutant from StarCraft. This is something that we have done for ourselves and fans, and for all of you as fans as well. So that's Blizzard World. You guys can play it on the show floor today. It'll be playable all throughout BlizzCon. It's going to be hitting the PTR soon, and it will go live sometime early next year. But this isn't all we have to talk about. It's not just Heroes. It's not just the new map. There's one more thing we have in store for you, and to talk about it is Arnold Tseng.
So one of the things about Blizzard World is, for a character artist like myself, seeing everybody working on, awesome Blizzard stuff in Overwatch was super exciting. And the character artists we want to work on this stuff too. So it wouldn't be a tribute to Blizzard and all its universes without some Blizzard-themed skins. This is something we wanted to do since the beginning of Overwatch when we thought about doing skins. Who's ready to see some skins?
I am!
All right, let's roll the video.
Installing updates. Updates installed.
Will you take a look at that?
Well, you must really like me.
What did you expect? You're impressed. That's natural.
That's more like it. I was born in battle.
Live with honor. Die with glory. The Crusaders are immortal defenders of Germany.
We're on our way. Ooh, this is a good one.
Man, so these are probably like my favorite skins that we've done so far. There's so many, just like Aaron was talking about with Easter eggs in the Blizzard World map. We got a lot of tiny tidbits we love just putting into these skins as well. Like if you notice in the video, Zarya's Graviton core is actually the rage meter for barbarians, and she's even got a little ruby slotted into her weapon for all you D3 fans out there. I think Roadhog, for his take a breather, he's got like a potion from Diablo. And you guys also notice like some non-Blizzard World skins. We have Crusader Reinhardt. Anybody see that Reinhardt cinematic this morning? It's so awesome, and we heard you guys' feedback. We definitely want to have you guys celebrate these awesome animated shorts with us. So we have Reinhardt the Crusader and also Eco Point May.
And it turns out Reinhardt's hair was amazing.
Well, it was amazing. It was amazing. So you guys are probably wondering, how are we going to get these awesome skins? Well, we heard your feedback about wanting more items in the base loot box, and I'm super happy to announce that as early next year, all the skins we showed and more are going to be available in the base loot box of Overwatch. So they're not going to be part of any event. As soon as they're in the loot box, you'll be able to earn them year-round. We'll have more info early next year, but for now, I got to start saving up some credits.
That's right. All of us.
That's all we have for today.
Yeah, so just to recap all the fun stuff we talked about, there's obviously our new hero, Moira. She'll be coming very soon. Check her out on the show floor. We've got Blizzard World, which will be, again, playable on the show floor and will be coming early next year. And then also lots of new content for the base loot box. So we have a little bit of time left, so we thought maybe we'd try answering a few questions. So there's 2 microphones, I believe. So
somewhere.
What?
Reflections Hanzo skin. I don't remember what that was.
I think I heard Reflections Hanzo skin.
Reflections Hanzo skin.
That one is requested a lot.
Yeah, I wonder.
Interesting.
Interesting.
All right, I think, okay, let's, it's hard to see the microphone, but I hear there's one over there, so let's take a question from over there. No, not over there. Okay.
They're lining up.
Over on that side. Oh my god, that costume is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you have a question for us?
Yeah. Yes? So, you guys are going to make Blizzard World real, right? And like, 2018.
Right, so
June.
Here's the thing, right? It's in the future, so
right.
Still have a little bit of time to wait, I'd say.
If we started a Kickstarter for like $8 billion, would you guys donate?
I'm pretty sure you guys would get every single dollar you asked for and more. Just go for it.
Well, I mean, I would love to go, so you won't get any argument from me.
Right.
All right, question.
First of all, love Blizzard World, but nothing would warm my heart more than defending on that map and manning that siege tank, even if it's just for 5 or 6 shots,
right,
while defending.
That's a pretty awesome idea. Maybe there's a game mode there or something like that. I don't know.
We actually, yeah, I mean, one of the cool things about the arcade now is we get to try crazy stuff in there, and so, I mean, we try not to throw in map mechanics that are like in the main pool that's going to suddenly feel like it's like disrupting everything, but it's cool, definitely an idea, and I think maybe a place for that, something we could try maybe someday in like the arcade or something like that would be super cool.
All right, well, thanks.
Hey, what's your question?
Hey guys, first off, thank you for the support. We really need that.
Yeah.
And so my question is more of a lore question. So seeing Moira and her healing and her, siphoning of powers, I'm wondering if there's a connection between her powers and Zen's approach of how he heals in Discords, or if it's going to be communicated in the future.
So there is a connection, but it's actually not to Zenyatta. It's actually more of a connection to Mercy. They both work together. Obviously, Moira was a part of Blackwatch. Mercy was a part of Overwatch. But she's definitely taken and modified some of that tech. In fact, there's some evidence on the Oasis map that sort of hints at some of that. So, wow, I made that easy. I just threw it out there. Anyways, yeah. So not Zenyatta so much. That's a little different. And in fact, Moira herself is very curious about how all that works.
Huh. All right, cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, next question.
Hi. So I know that recently you updated Junkrat's grenades so they don't do damage to himself anymore. I was wondering if you had any plans to do something similar with Pharah or her ults.
Maybe. I think it's not necessarily like a larger gameplay change across the board that we want to affect everybody. I think it was actually Junkrat himself was sort of in a state where like some of his stuff already worked that way. Like his concussive bomb already didn't hurt him. So we got into a place with him where it was like he was stuck at a very specific range where he like wasn't super good at long range, and when he got too close, he was killing himself. So from like a pure gameplay standpoint, we kind of had to like either let him shoot really far, which was really weird with a grenade launcher, or just kind of like make him not hurt himself as part of his general kit. But in general, the plan is still to make the explosive weapons hurt yourself when you use them.
All right, thank you.
All right, next question over here.
Hi. It's one of like a smart ass question or whatever. I tend to think I'm like pretty clever. I mean, I'm not like. I'm watching like the Reinhardt cinematic or whatever, and like I noticed the recently had some additions like the sword and the double guns. It's like, is next year's lore event gonna be an Eichenwald for a PvE event?
What was the question?
Sorry, what was your question?
Is next year's lore event PvE gonna be an Eichenwald?
Well, we'll talk about.
Next year's
we're not
lore
really
event.
don't have anything to say about future events, but we certainly really love that map, and I think they really the cinematics department really went above and beyond in creating that cinematic. I know I was a little moist in the eye.
Technically, Halloween Terror is on Eichenwald, kind of.
What's that?
Technically, Halloween Terror is on Eichenwald.
Oh yeah, section of it. That's right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey.
Hi, I'm a big fan. Okay, so I play a lot of Symmetra, and I realize that Symmetra's not really picked in like pro games. Is there any plans to like change Symmetra just a little bit, or make her, maybe have healing abilities? Because she's the only support that doesn't heal. Just want to put that out.
I don't know how likely it is that she'll end up with healing abilities. I think I've heard definitely a lot of people comment that they feel like she should be in the defensive category because she doesn't heal, even though the support category is technically kind of like not necessarily healers, although at this point it kind of is. We've actually been talking a little bit about looking at the categories again and see if they make sense. But I hear what you're saying about Symmetra in general. She does get some play, but yeah, she doesn't get picked too much at the high end like that. She pretty recently had that kind of remake where she got the extra ultimate, so allowed her to be a lot more flexible on a lot more points, so that helped out. And yeah, we're always looking at other heroes too in the future, and I mean, obviously, as we've shown recently with Mercy, we're willing to go back and tweak things quite heavily if we feel like it could go in a better direction. So we'll have to see.
Hey, you got a question for us?
Yeah, so I know Tracer was kind of inspired by like the Jumper class from Titan and all that, and there was a couple other classes heroes in Overwatch that are inspired by scrap classes from Titan. And I was wondering if Moira was one of them, and what other types of abilities or class play styles from Titan would you like to incorporate into future heroes of Overwatch?
You're at the early.
Clearly the Omniblade, right?
Omniblade.
The idea that will never die.
I could say a few things about I've said this before. Like we have a great tools team, and we have a great tool to use, and I ended up just playing with a lot of different mechanics, and some of them were stuff we tried at Titan, some of them weren't. Moira was definitely like completely scratched. There wasn't really anything there from Titan. A lot of them are like that. But there were a couple of abilities that were kind of cool. Like I remember Tracer had this gun back then, because we had alternate guns back then too. She had a gun where you could kind of load somebody up with shots, but they wouldn't explode. They would stick into you, and then you could hit another button at some point later, and she would have like this animation delay where she'd blow them all up. So you could like shoot somebody a bunch of times, and then recall around a corner, and then just like ding, and just like blow them up. It was pretty fun. So there's definitely like one-off guns that are kind of interesting we may look at in the future. But
And to add on to that, if you're interested in this, go to the Overwatch panel tomorrow morning, because there's a lot of information along the veins of what you're talking about and what sort of things from Titan influence things in Overwatch as well.
Awesome. Thank you,
So
guys.
check it out. Yeah.
Sure.
One more?
Sure.
Or no?
You got another question?
I think we have time for one more.
Don't know where I'm looking.
Just one more?
Or no?
Yeah. So over the past year, seems that as more heroes get introduced, there's been a bit of mobility creep in the game, and which means that some other heroes, especially in the competitive ladder, like Zenyatta, McCree, don't have as many options in when to choose to engage. How are you guys dealing with that going forward as you design new heroes and revise old heroes?
I mean, I think that's definitely a concern. Whenever we're designing a hero, that actual literal topic comes up basically every time. Because, I mean, a lot of what makes Overwatch so awesome is the mobility and all, the way the heroes move is a big part, and how they all have different ways to do it. And the fact that some heroes don't have mobility is actually interesting too, because they have, there are other aspects that are very strong. So, I mean, it's something we definitely watch out for. And obviously a character like Orisa was pretty new. We want to make sure, okay, we're not doing anything mobility-wise on her. She's kind of the static like one that moves forward or marches forward and it's hard to stop, but she doesn't like blink forward or dash forward or anything. So I think it's a challenge for us all the time. We just got to make sure that we have awesome ideas that don't involve mobility all the time.
Thank you.
All right, I think that's all the time we have for questions, but I just want to thank everyone again for coming out. We love the Overwatch community. We couldn't do this without you,
Yeah,
so
thanks,
thank
guys.
you again, and
thank you.
Be out there.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
We have time for a few more questions.
Oh, all right.
Oh, we do?
Okay.
All right.
Well then.
I mean, should we?
I got nothing to do.
Yeah. All right, let's get some more questions then. Forget everything I just said, but we do love you. Yep.
Hey, I actually ran all the way back here because I was first in line. But my question is, earlier this year, you guys announced that Tracer was LGBT identified. I was wondering if we can expect more of that from other heroes, because like as an LGBT identified man myself, it's like representation is super key in a game for me.
Yeah, so I completely agree. Representation is important to us as a team too. In making Overwatch, making sure that it is a diverse and representative game is something that we're always thinking about. Obviously, you know, we showed off Tracer in the Reflections comic, where it was revealed that she's in a loving relationship with her girlfriend Emily, and we are definitely interested in, you know, showing more of the character relationships. It's really a matter of finding the right stories, because we don't want to just come out and, you know, just sort of label people. We want them to come out naturally as part of the narrative. But, you know, I've said it before, but definitely more members of the Overwatch cast than the heroes are LGBT.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, back over this side.
Hi there. Currently in Quick Play, there's a distinct separation between players that want to play with like 60 PS, no plans of winning, and then another group of players who maybe want to play with people they're associated with who are differing in rank. Do you have any plans to alleviate something like that?
This is in Quick Play specifically, you said?
Yeah, because when you're in Quick Play and you find a team that's not doing so well, they'll tell you to go to arcade. Yet you still want that competitive, like a competitive light aspect.
Sure. I mean, yeah, it's something we're always looking at. The tricky thing for us is we can definitely layer in more restrictive matchmaking in general, but every time we add another layer, we're increasing the queue times for everybody, and that's like the biggest thing we're always fighting against, is we want to make sure that if you want to play Overwatch, you can jump on the game and play it in a reasonable time. So when we first launched the game, we were very much in the camp of we just want the queues to be as short as possible. It's definitely like really lighten up on the matchmaking restrictions, and obviously over time we've been hearing feedback from you guys, and we have been layering in more stuff to try to help the matchmaking quite a bit. So it's something we're always looking at still, but that's kind of the balancing aspect. That's kind of where we're at.
One of the other things we're talking about with that is whether we might want to make changes or addition to the arcade side. And so there might be a way of pulling a segment of the population away from Quick Play and putting them into that, or at least making it easier to find the type of game that you want to have without always having to resort to either creating one on your own and hoping players join it, or looking for one that has enough players in it inside a custom game.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next question. 8.
Hello there. First of all, thank you very much. The Blizzard World map looks really incredible. And my question actually is on level design. I'm just curious if there has, I was just wondering if there was going to be any interest in using at least old assets, or just
down in case I'd like
reusing different locations, but for different game modes. Like, would there ever be like a Route 66 map, but King of the Hill, or just kind of like reusing, if that makes sense, just using different old assets, just do new mechanics?
Let me take it. It's a great idea. We've done it before. So we took Dorado and turned it into the arena version of the map. We've done it a few times. Even our latest map, Chateau, borrowed art elements from some of our other maps. So we do that. I think it would be super cool to have a Blizzard World version of an arena, or even an FFA map. I think something like that would be super cool. But as we build maps, we kind of get to it and decide what we think is going to be the coolest art set that we could use for it. and we kind of usually take a wait and see attitude to it. But I have a feeling in the future we'll probably do a few more of those.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right, question over on this side.
Okay, so this is my second year at BlizzCon. Love playing Overwatch. I kind of consider myself more of like a competitive player. So like I like to play competitive and really rank up and see if I can hit that high ladder. Right now I'm playing in like Masters-ish. And
Nice.
my question for you, as someone who's played other games that have a really structured competitive system, would you consider adding a more like redefined scorecard into competitive only, just so you could better see what's going on your team, the other team, and like maybe if you could look and see for some more self-improvement like on how you played?
Sure. Do you mean the scorecard, like the end of the match scorecard? Do you mean
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, that's the kind of stuff we're talking about quite a bit, actually, especially in the competitive play. You know, there are other third-party sort of applications and websites and stuff that are doing a lot of interesting things, tracking stats for people and stuff, and I think we think those are super interesting. We kind of follow those too, and they're doing a lot of really cool stuff. We don't really have anything to announce or anything right now, but I think that's definitely something we're interested in.
Definitely, yeah. And I play in Masters too, like Masters-ish to gold. Masters-ish.
All right, next question over here.
Hello. Oh, sorry.
Hey.
Hi. Thanks for having me. And I've been really trying to think how to say this question. First of all, love the game. Go Overwatch.
Thank you.
But when I see the game, I see so much lore potential, but there's not a lot of lore for us to really enjoy. We only get like Junkerstein's Revenge, not even lore, and the Omnic Crisis, single player campaign. So, real question: more lore, single player content, kind of two. Sorry.
Yeah, so I totally hear what you're saying. We have a number of things that are in development right now on the story side that hopefully will get into some more of the hero stories and just show off more of the universe. So it's something that we're continuously working on, and something that we're hoping that we can ramp up and have more frequent and more in-depth bits of story. So yeah, definitely stay tuned.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Over here.
Hi, big fan of everything you guys do. So Overwatch is a team-based game, obviously. So you win or lose a match based on how well you work with those other 5 people that you're queued up with at random, mostly. So my question is, why is there such a lack of a social aspect to Overwatch? I mean, general chat is just spam or memes, and there's no real way to meet people outside of third party like Discords or Reddit or whatever. So are there any plans in the future to maybe add some kind of a general lobby you can join while queuing, or anything to really put you together with other players?
So we talk about things like this internally, and there's a lot of different ways you could kind of design something like this, and especially for the competitive scene. We've internally had discussions about, do we need some sort of looking for group system or something like that? And there's a lot of challenges with designing a system like that, but we know that there's a desire in the community to start either looking for players based off of the role they're going to play, or sometimes there's frustration about the type of group that you get put into through matchmaking, and it's the type of thing that we're talking about. We really don't have any details to discuss on it, but and I'm not sure if we'd ever build a lobby experience that you're going to go into, actually load into as a player or anything like that, but it's something that we're talking about internally.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, question over on this side.
All right, so being a avid WoW player for years, the instant connection between you announcing the Magni Bronzebeard skin and also the new character Moira and Moira the Dark Iron Dwarves, do you think there's going to be or already has
some sort of voice line interaction reference, going on that might reference, the Moira of the Dark Iron Taurus.
That's an interesting idea.
I hadn't even thought of that, actually.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but that's
interesting.
Yeah, maybe we could do something like that. I think it's one thing that's really fun about Moira is that she sort of has that like warlocky mage feeling about her. I think we definitely went in that direction with her because there's a little bit of that fantastical inspiration for her.
Yeah, for both her and I would say Symmetra, we definitely tried to kind of merge that wizard kind of mage vibe and bring that into Overwatch.
Just need Roadhog to get that Voidwalker skin, and she could get the Warlock skin, and they can cruise around together.
Right, thank you. Next
Hello.
question. Hey.
I just had a question when it came to like character design. When you put an androgynous character like Moira into the game, what's going through your head when it comes to adding diversity to the roster, like when it comes to body type like Mei or Zarya, or when it comes to gender like Moira? Like, what are you guys thinking when you add someone like that to the roster?
Well, the first thing, obviously, that is Overwatch is about diversity, and we want to have a lot of variety of heroes. And we look at all the types that we've explored so far, and we definitely want to constantly be reaching out and trying to represent all of our different players. So one thing is just like what's something new and something exciting that would reach more players out there that would represent you guys as much as possible. So that's definitely on our minds, and definitely we just want to make all different types of heroes that look cool and feel awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, this is our last question.
Okay, this is the last question.
For realsy.
Hi, my question is about Talon, actually. We've seen a lot of different Talon stories. We've seen Doomfist Masquerade, which was a James Bond sort of story. Alive is about an assassin. Now we have Moira, who's completely different, and I'm wondering about the challenge of writing this very broad faction or creating these very unique characters all under the same banner, and how you sort of align them while still making them have their unique niches.
Well, I think one of the really interesting things about Talon is that it was really intended to be this larger group of, I was going to say heroes, but of people with different aims. And the idea is that,
trusted mid-series to bring them.
Back to this Arms Warrior Havoc Demon Hunters they've been playing and doing very well with. And we're actually about to find out. Game
This is a new piece of small group content in Battle for Azeroth. We weren't going to send you across the sea to find new allies without stopping every once in a while to do some good old-fashioned looting and plundering of uncharted lands. But before we start talking about island expeditions, or the Heart of Azeroth, or even warfronts, we should start by talking a little bit more about this substance Azerite. The assault from the Legion has grievously wounded our planet, and cracks are occurring all across her surface. She's hemorrhaging her lifeblood, and it looks like this sort of gold-blue substance that you see behind me. As it emerges, it crystallizes into these thrumming spires filled with power that reach towards the sky. There's incredible power inherent with the blood of Azeroth, which we're calling Azerite. But for the Alliance and the Horde, this is a little bit like being the first group to discover plutonium. While incredibly powerful, we're not entirely sure what all it can do. And some of those mysteries you'll be exploring in Battle for Azeroth. But what both sides do know is that it has the power to be incredibly destructive. And whichever faction has the most of this stuff in their coffers when warfronts break out is definitely going to have the upper hand. Now, the gnomes and the goblins aren't just going to let this awesome new source of power show up without immediately developing some technology that will allow us to pinpoint where these hemorrhages are locating or showing up all across Azeroth. So they're going to give you some maps showing uncharted islands off in the Great Sea that are filled with Azerite. As luck would have it, we've just made friends with the two groups that have the most powerful navies in the world, the Kul Tirans and the Zandalari. So you're going to log in and head down to the docks of your brand new hub city of Boralis for the Alliance, and Zuldazar for the Horde, and there you'll be conscripted by the Alliance to head off on an adventure. You're going to take one of their fastest ships and try to gather as much of that Azerite as you can. Of course, once you arrive on the island, you won't find that it's necessarily undefended. This giant crab that we see here is not a friendly crab. The denizens of the island will fight hard for the Azerite that they've already collected, because really every creature is drawn to this magical substance, even though they don't quite know why. So that was a little bit of the story behind your island expedition. Let's get down into some of the details. Island expeditions are 3-player scenarios, and they're role agnostic. This is something that we want to really play with this time around. If you want to bring in 3 tanks or 3 healers, we definitely want to support that. And we've learned a lot about individual class-based gameplay and rare spawn gameplay and world quest gameplay throughout the last couple of expansions. All of that knowledge we're applying here to give you an awesome experience no matter what group you come in with. They're intended to take about 15 to 20 minutes, and being role agnostic, you'll also have a relatively rapid queue. That means that just about any time of the day, you can hop in, queue up, and knock one of these out and grab some Azerite. And last but not least, the major goal here, of course, is to obtain Azerite, to fill up the hull of your ship and leave victorious, with Azerite for your faction, but also some for yourself. Gaining Azerite comes in a wide variety of different sources. You can find it on Azerite nodes or seams. Creatures have been collecting it and gathering it up into chests, baskets, and bags. Like I said, everything's kind of drawn to it a little bit, and they don't want to let it go. It has this inherent power. You will fight creatures infused with Azerite. You'll save quest givers who have been collecting Azerite. And of course, you'll be fighting powerful bosses and taking their huge hordes of Azerite. And also much, much more, which we're going to get into in a little bit. Really, one of the prevailing design philosophies behind island expeditions is something that we're calling dynamic replayability. And I could describe that in a whole bunch of words, but it's going to be way more fun if I show you with pictures. All right, so imagine you and your friends queue up for an island expedition, and you arrive on this sort of idyllic tropical landscape. It's nice, you know, looks kind of like what you would expect an island to look like. It's the middle of the day, it's a pretty day. And today, you find the island is inhabited by a couple of Hosen sitting next to a chest filled with azurite. To the left of them, you see a giant azurite-encrusted starfish. Of course, you can pick up the starfish and fling it at any enemy to disorient them and let you do extra damage to them for a little while. There's a couple of ambient crabs wandering around on the shoreline, and in the back right there, you see a creepy-looking Hosen shrine. If you click on that shrine, it will give you a powerful buff, but every shrine buff also comes with a detriment, and you can't remove it until its duration expires. So you have to be sure that you want to really opt in to that gameplay, that extra difficulty. In this particular case, this shrine makes you do extra damage, but reduces your armor. In the back left, you see a very large crab that we saw earlier, who is guarding a huge spire of azurite. And as you can imagine, he's going to be one of the more powerful foes in the sort of scene that we created here. So what did we just craft? Really, what we've created is a puzzle. There is an optimal way to play through this scenario. So what do you think you would do? You would probably kill the Hosen, you would take their chest, grab the starfish, maybe go to the shrine at that point, you would starfish the crab, which is a weird phrase to say, and then while he's disoriented, do a bunch of extra damage to him, maybe even killing him before he can hit you, so the debuff sort of portion of that shrine never even gets realized. And then you take his big chunk of azurite. Super cool, right? We solved this puzzle, we tactically worked our way through the game, and we found the most efficient path through this particular chunk of the island. Now imagine that you and your friends finished this island, you did great, you were victorious, and you queue up again. The second time you come to the island, it looks like this. Okay, same island, a little bit different time of day, it's pretty, it's dusk. And this time, a Sarok rare spawn and their band of Sarok have taken over the camp, slain the Hosen, taken their chest, and that particular rare spawn is worth a huge amount of azurite. You'll notice that the starfish is now giant clams, of which there are 2. You can pick up one of those clams and fling it at an enemy to stun them. The shrine is in a different location, and it's a different shrine. And the turtles, or sorry, the crabs, rather, are a family of turtles now, in the very back right over there, who were crafted with some turtle eggs that you can click on to get an instantaneous heal. You can probably see where I'm going with this. Imagine that the third time that you queue up for the day, it is instead a dark and stormy night. Mogu necromancers have arrived on the back of powerful thundering cloud serpents, have taken over the entire island. All of the shrines are now cursed shrines. They do additional damage, but with a significant additional detriment. The Mogu have also opened up this portal that you see in the back right there to a Mogu Necrolord's crypt, 1,000 yards beneath the surface of Azeroth. And if you go walk into that portal, you will port down into that crypt, and one of the passages through it will be open for you to defeat the boss at the end and gain their azurite. So what did we really just show you here? Every time you come to this space, the puzzle is different. The creatures are in different locations. The azurite is in different quantities and different spots. There are additional gameplay elements scattered throughout the world, and it's always a little bit different. All of these things are what you might call procedurally generated on the island space, so that every time you come here, you will find different creatures in different organizations with different amounts of azurite. You might find capture points that allow you to take over some long abandoned cannons on the side of a ship that give you a powerful extra ability on this particular island. You'll find chests and azurite nodes of all kinds of different quantities scattered everywhere, but always in a different combination, and different quest givers, consumables, shrines. Every island has at least 4 start locations. Every time we make a cave, it can be a different cave of a huge number of different possible caves. Pirates can show up in the middle of the island on great giant ships that you can then board and go down into and take their azurite. But we don't necessarily want to call this procedural generation. That harkens back to a world where maybe we would have a Hosen next to a Sarok, next to a Mogu, and it wouldn't tell a cohesive story. In all of those pictures we just showed you, really what we started with was telling a story, and then we generated the world afterwards. It's a little bit like going on an adventure and just filling in the blanks. We landed on a tropical island in the middle of the night, and it was inhabited by Mogu necromancers. We define what that story is for your island, and then we generate it for you in a way that always feels different. You're never sure where the next tactical location of Azurite is going to be located at. And that means that every time you come to this space, it's going to really get to that feeling of exploring uncharted lands and new territories that we want to get for the Battle for Azeroth. However, something Ian mentioned earlier, both the gnomes and the goblins have developed the technology to pinpoint these major sources of Azurite. So shortly after you arrive on this island, so will the other faction. You'll be facing off against 3 champions of the other team who are going after all of the same resources you are, and they just might defeat one of those bosses or snag one of those chunks of Azurite right out from under your nose. This provides a real time pressure to make those tactical decisions and play that puzzle efficiently that we think adds the icing to the cake of this system. We also really want to play around with the concept of those faction champions. If you're the Alliance, you want to face off against a real group of Horde that feel like fun characters from that faction. You might be facing off against this group, the Spirits of Vengeance, a group of Darkspear loyalists who are out for vengeance for Vol'jin. They have a Shadow Hunter, a Witch Doctor, and a Berserker, exactly as you would expect from a group of powerful trolls. For the Horde, you might be facing off against the Wolf Pack, a group of Worgen out for vengeance for Gen Greymane, who are really good at sniffing you out. I know, terrible. But you might be thinking to me, okay, I've been playing this game for like a decade at this point. If I fireball this big Magneron right here, I know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to run right up to me, and he's going to punch me in the face. And then if I run really far away from him, he might run back to his spawn point. So, you, game designer, I'm going to beat you at your own game, and I'm going to drag all of these NPCs off into a corner while the rest of my allies go and take over the island. That's an interesting problem. And spawning up a world where different resources can show up just about anywhere presents a lot of interesting problems for World of Warcraft AI. So what are the problems that we want to solve here? Well, first, we'd want to face off against foes that really had tactical ability usage. You'd want foes that would be able to get into a defensive formation sometimes. Maybe polymorph you, maybe sap your healer, and steal one of those Azurite nodes right out from under you. If you're approaching an enemy rogue that is already in combat with a boss, it'd be really cool if sometimes he blinded the boss and attacked you, sometimes he blinded you and attacked the boss, and sometimes he vanishes to reconvene with his allies and come back later. Secondly, it would be awesome if all 3 of these had an intrinsic sense of the map objectives. If they would understand where the powerful creatures were, the major risk-reward moments, where the big chunks of Azurite were. That provides really an extra tension that you want when the creature is also going after the really important things while you're going after it. The end result of both of these is AI that can make strategic decisions. They can decide whether or not they want to stick in combat or leave combat. You'll finally face off against an AI that every once in a while will polymorph you, mount up, and just leave because he's got better things to do. That's also one of the really fun parts about messing with this system is that you can create AI personalities. We could, for example, make an undead rogue named Sneaky Pete, who every once in a while, when he sees that you're getting in a little over your heads with one of those powerful creatures, might vanish, sprint over, sap your healer, and jump you. It'd be mean, but we could do it. And it would be unlike any creature that you've already seen in World of Warcraft. And why? Because ultimately, there's a huge amount of unpredictability there. We've programmed a creature that we are calling advanced NPCs that can play their way through a procedurally generated space intelligently and can go into various different modes of combat that aren't just run up and punch you in the face. One of the other things that islands allow us to do is to take you to a wide variety of different locations. You saw a tropical island earlier. That was our first island. And this is the second one we're showing off today. It's an abandoned Gilnean village. Well, almost abandoned. The walls of the city up on the hill have been closed tight for years. This is a two-part island where you'll be facing off against your foe in the lower portion and the abandoned lighthouse. And then halfway through the map, the gates to the abandoned city open up, and you get to see what happened to all of the denizens inside there. I won't spoil it for you, but it's generally spooky stuff. Going to the 1,000 islands of the Great Sea really gives us this awesome opportunity to take you to a wide variety of different visual locations. We've put together a quick video showing the first two of our islands. We can't wait to get Island Expeditions into your hands, but at the same time, we realize that Sneaky Pete isn't for everybody. Some people are really going to enjoy facing off against really powerful AI that makes smart tactical decisions, and some people aren't. So we're happy to announce that we're planning on shipping this feature with 4 different difficulty settings. Normal, Heroic, Mythic, and Mythic Sneaky Pete is really, he's good, he's rude, he's really rude. And PvP. We think that absolutely one of the most fun ways to play this particular piece of content is facing off against 3 other players and really hearkening back to that sense of racing off against another player towards a mineral node and getting it right before them and getting to laugh. We think you're going to love this piece of content. We talked a whole lot about how you're going to gain Azurite, or one of the main sources of it. Now here to talk to you about what you're going to do with it, Russell Peterson.
The war that seems to be brewing, the island expeditions are just the prelude to that. The planet will soon be consumed in all-out war. The discovery of Azurite and the arms race that it's kicked off has so completely consumed the attention of both factions, they've forgotten the victor of that war is likely to inherit a dying world. It's always been the mission of the Burning Legion to destroy Azeroth, and it seems that even in their defeat, they've finally struck the killing blow. Only Magni seems to understand how desperate the situation has truly become. He's appealed to the leaders of both factions and has been turned away. He instead calls to you, the greatest heroes that Azeroth has ever seen. When you answer his summons, he'll entrust you with an ancient Titan artifact, the Heart of Azeroth. Magni believes that the Heart of Azeroth holds the key to undoing the worst of the damage inflicted by the Legion. You'll carry the Heart of Azeroth around your neck as you adventure on Kul Tiras and Zandalar. It's up to you to save the world. Again, a little bit more literally this time than in previous expansions. The Heart of Azeroth is the focal point of your character's progress throughout the expansion. When it comes in close proximity to Azurite, the Heart of Azeroth absorbs a fraction of its power. It grows stronger. It levels up. You'll gain Azurite from familiar activities like raids, dungeons, world quests, PvP, and new ones like island expeditions and warfronts. As the Heart of Azeroth gains in strength and levels up, it becomes stronger in its own right. It may gain unique new abilities, But most importantly, it gains the power to awaken latent abilities in other pieces of armor that you'll find. This is an in-development look at how you'll interact with an individual piece of Azerite armor. Each piece has 4 rings containing powers. Each of those rings unlocks at a different Heart of Azeroth level. The outer rings are relatively accessible. You might loot an item and discover you can pick 1 or 2 powers immediately, but the innermost powers will require you to further empower the Heart of Azeroth. Once the Heart of Azeroth has awakened a ring, you simply choose a power, and it becomes active on your character for as long as you wear that item. Now, you've seen items with powers on them before, but Azerite armor powers are in multitudes. And it's up to you to decide how they affect your character. This is an important distinction from what's come before. You might find a power that makes you think twice about using a talent that you'd previously written off. You might find a power on a helm that you'd previously seen on a shoulder while you were leveling up. And you will certainly find combinations that reinforce your favorite way to play your character. Now, you're going to be able to do this every time you find a new item. The key to all of that and the freedom of experimentation is that the Heart of Azeroth is the source of that power. Whenever you loot a new item and you awaken Azerite powers on it, your Heart of Azeroth doesn't change. Anytime you loot Azerite, you make your character stronger. If you try a new item on, you have no progression setback whatsoever. You will always be moving forward. Now, I know you're thinking, oh, this sounds like a lot of randomness. That's not true. Each of these items has a unique handcrafted layout, and it's the same every single time you see the item. You'll be able to open the dungeon journal and determine which powers affect your character the way that you prefer and know exactly what you need to do to acquire those items. And you'll always want to acquire the strongest version of the item. The strength of an individual Azerite power is derived from the item level of the item that it belongs to, which is a very carefully worded way of saying the Mythic Dungeon version is better than the Heroic Dungeon version. You're always going to want to have the most powerful version of the item possible. This is a little confusing to think about in the abstract, so let's walk through an example together. This is Sardina. Sardina is an orc shaman. She enjoys long walks on the beach, Kungaloosh, transmog runs, and she raids with her guilds 2 nights a week. She mostly plays elemental, but every once in a while she'll switch to restoration to heal if somebody can't make the raid, or to do some mythic dungeons. She's going to help us walk through this example today, and she's really excited to be here. Sardina's Heart of Azeroth is currently level 20. Now, any of the numbers that I'm going to use here are hypothetical. Don't get mad at me when it's not like that when the game comes out. Level 20 is good enough to unlock the first 2 rings on her helm, the Coif of Entwined Fates. The 3rd ring requires level 21. It just so happened to be checking in with her during a dungeon run. She completes the dungeon, loots the Azerite off the boss, and immediately her neck levels up to 21. There's no items to click, it just happens. Doing that, it unlocks the 3rd ring on this item. Now, Sardina's been looking forward to this for a while. She knows the choice she's going to make. So she selects the power, and it immediately becomes active on her character. But why did she make that choice? Let's talk just a little bit about how we want the system to work. The most important part of this is that we want the choices that you're going to be presented with to make sense with one another. If I give you a choice between your lightning bolt does 20% more damage or you gain 20 fishing skill, I have a pretty good idea of which one of those you're going to choose. You were here this morning for Ian's talk. You know Queen Ashara is on her way, that fishing skill is going to be really important in the raid, and you're going to be prepared for it. No, you're going to take the lightning bolt damage. We want these choices to be something where you look at it and you say, yes, all of those things belong together, and my favorite one is this. But we want these to be about more than just raw power. We want them to be about how you express yourself as a character or as a player. And we want them to provide things that aren't just bigger, better, more. So the choice that Sardina made was between a power that affected Ghost Wolf and gave it an extra boost of speed after you're taking damage, or a power that affects Astral Shift and helps reduce the damage taken when the power is active. Sardina looks at this and she says, this is about standing in the fire. I can take the Ghost Wolf power and I can get out of the fire really quickly. Or I can take the Astral Shift power and maybe I don't have to get out of the fire at all. Those are decisions that, yes, there may be a specific correct answer for one situation, but that's also something that depends on you as a player. If you are not very good at noticing when you're in the fire, maybe you go with Astral Shift. But Sardina goes with Ghost Wolf because when she heals, there's nothing that drives her up the wall faster than DPS who stand in the fire, and she's not going to set a bad example. We hope that these kinds of choices will be present all throughout the expansion. One of the really exciting things about Azerite Armor is that we get to introduce new powers later in the expansion that you've never seen before, and you have all new choices to make. And I hope that you choose to use these powers responsibly, in the way that Magni hopes that you do, to save Azeroth. But if you were here this morning and you saw that cinematic, and you heard the screams of the Banshee Queen, or saw the way Anduin rallied his troops, you probably want to know how you're going to be taking the fight to the other faction. And here to talk about Warfronts is Matt Goss.
All right, guys, let's go to war. So, you saw Islands. Islands are telling the story of the skirmish that's going on between the Horde and the Alliance, between our two continents. Warfronts are telling the story of war on the homeland. So these are 20-player cooperative experiences, so you and 19 of your closest faction friends will take it to the other team. It's Alliance versus Horde, it's Red versus Blue, it's Orc versus Human. This is your time to stand with your faction and take down the other side. So we're really looking back to our Warcraft RTS fantasy roots with this system. But again, it's on the ground. You're fighting on the ground with your troops, building buildings with your character using your powers. So this picture of the original box of Warcraft 2, I think really symbolizes... That's weird. Did you guys see that? Can we enhance this? Wait, Battle for Azeroth is on this box? And no one noticed? Tides of Vengeance in this? Okay, anyway. Okay, so let's talk about Eastern Kingdoms. So what you saw in the cinematic, Undercity lies in ruins now. Okay, you're right, wait. More ruins. I guess it was already kind of messed up before, but definitely more ruins at this point. So this means that Alliance have control over Eastern Kingdoms. It is very close to falling to the full Alliance. The fight is going to end, the fight is going to continue, I should say, in Arathi Highlands, where the remaining members of the Horde will face off against the Alliance pushing north. All right, so for the Alliance, why is this important? Well, the Undercity isn't defensible. The Horde is still up to the north, and they're still angry. Silvermoon City is up there. It's a zone boundary away. There's like a loading screen, but they can probably make it through. Probably make sure. And this is a place you can make a stand and cut off the north. Now, for the Horde, you got to make a stand here. You've already lost your most defensible position. This is your time to prevent the Alliance from building up. It's also a great place to launch attacks on Gilneas if we were to do such a thing. So the first warfront that we're going to have in Battle for Azeroth is Stromgarde, the fight for Stromgarde. Okay, that's the original version of Stromgarde. That's the new version of Stromgarde. So we're still working on the map, so it'll probably change as we get through it all, but it's very cool. So Alliance, you're going to try to reclaim the original seat of Stromgarde and use it to defend yourself against the Horde. So the first thing you're going to do when you get to a warfront is you're going to establish your base. So for Alliance, you're going to build a town hall. For Horde, you're going to build a Great Hall. After that, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to start gathering resources, and you're going to start taking territory. Resources are very important to the game, just like they were in the original RTS. You got to collect lumber, you got to collect iron, and you got to put those together to build buildings. Territory is also very important because territory will unlock new buildings and new research and new available opportunities that you can take on the battlefield. All of that iron and lumber that you're building and a fantastic flannel progression system that you'll have for chopping down trees, you're going to build your base. So this is actually the original Warcraft 3 tech tree for Horde. We are trying to follow this as close as we can because we think it's awesome. So you're going to build a Great Hall. You're going to build a barracks, and from the barracks you're going to train troops. You can build an armory, which upgrades your troops. You can build a spirit lodge to build shaman. All of those things will be important for the fight. If you're Alliance, you're also going to build a barracks, but it will be riflemen and footmen and knights, just like the original RTS. So I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, cool, building bases with 19 other people sounds super fun. I'm sure we'll all decide the right buildings to choose, and it'll go fine. So the way this works is you actually get to gather your resources for yourself, and then you can contribute them to which building you want to build. Whenever that building has enough resources to build, peons will start running over and putting it together. So the choice is made by everyone. If you work together, you're going to build buildings faster, you're going to go through it, but nothing is lost. With those buildings, you now need to build your army. So each building that you build that builds units, like the barracks, you'll be able to build those grunts and footmen, and you'll send them to the front line. When you build them, they'll take off running to the front. But you should be there with them. You need to lead them into battle. You're going to the enemy gates, you're destroying their walls, you're killing their commander. That's what you need to do, and you need an army to do that. But again, you're not the only one here. The other side is also there. They also want to build an army, and they might have already built an army. They also want to take your gates down. They also want to crumble your walls and kill your commander. So not only are you taking territory and gathering resources, you're also defending. You need to defend the territory that you take. You need to defend your base, or else you'll lose. So each time you play through a Warfront, we're trying to look at different systems to make it feel different. One of the ones we're really excited about is this concept of different enemy commanders. Again, going back to that original Warcraft fantasy. So imagine you have a human commander that you're fighting against as Horde. He might have upgraded knights and footmen that he sends all the time. Or you could have a dwarven commander who has upgraded riflemen and also has a special unit that no other commander has, a dwarven mortar team. You're also going to be able to research new war technology outside of the Warfront so that you can bring it in the next time you play. And finally, we're actually having these battlefield events prop up while you're playing the game. So let's say one of your games, a goblin merchant shows up and he offers to pay for some mercenaries to fight for your side. That is all we have to show for Warfronts today. Moving to the next topic, social features. So when we looked at Battle for Azeroth and we were trying to get to, we really found an opportunity with social features. Our goals were really pretty simple, I think. We really like the social structures that you guys have. We love guilds. We hope you guys love guilds too. But we found we could make it easier to communicate, make it easier to make connections and keep connections in the game. So your social structures that you might have right now, let's say that you have a guild. You have a raid group that may meet Wednesday nights. Maybe you do PvP during the week. You also, on the weekends, you do pre-made group finder for your raided battlegrounds and your Mythic Keystone dungeons. If all of these social structures take place in a guild, you're probably doing okay. Otherwise, you're probably looking at other apps or other ways to manage those connections and keep in contact. Specifically, if you're doing a lot of pre-made group finder, you might find it really frustrating to every single group you join, having to find the next app you need to download, figure out what server you want to connect to, just to talk to people in that group. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to integrate Battle.net Voice into World of Warcraft. So this is the same voice that Overwatch uses, so it's the same quality and the same, should be the same easy to use. It also is integrated into our game, so rather than having to look at another app to figure out who's talking and correlate that name to the character names in the game, you'll just be able to see a little pop-up with their name and a little speaker icon. So if you're in a pre-made group, you'll get a little pop-up that says, hey, would you like to join the voice chat? You say yes, and you're in. For the other social structures that we have, we thought that Guild was cool, but we wanted to do a little bit more to support those features. So we're introducing WoW communities. So these are character-specific groups. They're cross-server, so you can keep in touch with your friends that are on different servers than you. And you can be in multiple communities at the same time, in addition to your guild. So the features that we have for communities, you get a roster of members, you get the people that are in the community. We have very simple role management, so you'll be able to have like a founder, an officer, and members of your guild, so you can manage who has control. This is all integrated into Quick Join. So when you see a community member join into a game, you can hop into their queue and join in without losing any time. These will also be integrated with voice, so you can be able to talk to your community just by clicking a button. We also are introducing auto-maintained calendar invites. So right now, you make a calendar invite and you might have to manually keep track of who's in it. With this, if your community is managing the calendar invite, once you make it, like let's say the Wednesday night raid, once you make that calendar invite, anyone who joins your community automatically gets that invite. Anybody who leaves your community automatically is removed. And we're also putting text chat history into the game. So let's say that you are playing, you have to go for an hour, and then you come back an hour later. You'll be able to see all of the history of every community that you were listening to or that you were talking to in chat and be able to catch up with the conversation right away. So you're probably thinking, those sound great. I wish I had those in the guild. So all the new things for guilds will actually be in Battle for Azeroth too. So voice integration, automating calendar invites, and text chat history will be part of your guild. So yeah, it's cool. So this is a sneak peek at what the UI could look like. This is a mock-up that we're working on. So you can see at the top, that's your guild. So this is a redo of the guild panel. You can see the chat that's going on inside. When you actually see the chat, you can also pipe the chat back into your normal chat frame. So /G will still be there, and you can take your communities and make it /1/2. You'll also see the rated BG team and the Friday raid group as communities that you have. And that last box, which is a little bit different, is actually Blizzard Battle.net groups. So a couple weeks ago, Battle.net groups went live, so you can make friends with all of your BattleTag buddies. So now you'll be able to see those in the WoW client as well. All right. That is all we have today. Thank you guys so much. We're really, really excited to get this expansion in your hands. I know you guys want to play too. So tomorrow here, we have Q&A at 4 o'clock. You can submit all of your questions at the Darkmoon Fair. Also, there's an art panel tomorrow at 12:45 on the Legendary stage. You should go check that out too. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Have a great BlizzCon.
Thank you for attending the World of Warcraft Gameplay and Systems Deep Dive panel. Up next, the Heroes of the Storm What's Next panel.
people that you adore and respect, and then making content, I guess, that inspires you guys to come and get together and share your love and your joy. And maybe somebody goes, I'm going to do that. I watched that. They're having a ball. I'm going to make that happen. And maybe we're making lives a little better. I don't know. Maybe that's pretentious to say. I am wearing a bow tie. But hopefully we are. And that's what's happening with Blizzard, with Geek and Sundry. It's a really, really good time right now for all of us up here and you guys. So enjoy this moment, because we sure are.
Yeah.
It's, oh. I wasn't fishing. I wasn't fishing, but I like what I caught.
There was a reason that you were elected mayor of Blizzard, sir. Your campaign speeches are just, mwah.
You wear a bow tie, they think you know what you're talking about.
A Twitch stream in every home.
What I was going to say was, I was just thinking about, we're talking about how all of us used to be, avid gamers that would play for like 12 hours straight. And, oh, it's 6 in the morning. Well, I guess I'm not sleeping now. I guess I'm just. But that same high that we got from that is almost replaced by you have that same energy and passion and creativity of when you're working on something and then you look up and it's 6 hours later. That's what we get now working at Geek and Sundry. And
yeah, I mean, I'll say it. I just blame you, Matt.
Yeah.
I blame you. I blame you. What you serve is too good.
Yeah.
So what little time I had left to pick up a controller, I don't need it anymore, because if I'm playing a first-person shooter, I can't have my buddy shrink me and teleport us into a dragon's butt. That mechanic doesn't exist in the game. You can't do it.
And if you go on the forums, World of Warcraft, hopefully we can get dragon butt mechanics in the next expansion. We can do this as a community,
it's possible.
people.
The next patch, for sure.
Yeah.
We can get a vanilla server, we can do anything. Yeah, exactly like that stuff.
Yes.
You thought you knew the Onyxia fight until you enjoy vanilla, prepare for Rocky Road. It's their own fault for making an ice cream metaphor. I'm going to have way too much fun this year.
You
Many
should
whelps.
talk about the special
Many
experience.
Handle it!
You want more?
You should mention what happened that they don't know.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the best day of my life, Darren and I went to Blizzard to shoot a video for Game Engine. The idea was that we were doing a Sun Access tour, like all those crazy Geek and Sundry kids. Darren DePaul, the mayor of Blizzard, is going to take Erica on a tour, and we get all the doors shut in our faces because they're preparing for BlizzCon. And it was a really funny video to shoot, and we were there all day. But at some point, I asked the intern, Jeff Kaplan, to take our picture. And after we were shooting, he said, oh, so we're working on this thing for the Blizzard opening ceremonies. Do you mind if we, do you have a moment to come and see it? I'm sorry, I know you're very busy. And we went, oh, no, let's go do that. And so Darren and I went with our friend Brandy to the private screening room over the Overwatch building. And he showed us the not quite completed, but still almost all there, Reinhardt cinematic. And we just...
You held my hand through the whole thing, and you were crying, and you were like, oh, Darren, oh, Darren, oh, Darren. And we were on the couch, and Jeff Kaplan and Brandy were over there, and it was just this moment that I will never forget, and that Geek and Sundry and Blizzard gave me, bringing it all in a circle. But that was, sorry, I do cry, it's my own.
Both of them right now.
But that happened, that it was so private, and the next time I saw it was with everybody.
It was in front of the whole world. Yeah.
And that's what this community in this world brings to us. I don't know how we got so lucky to do this, because we're just voice stupids that love what we do. And somehow, through you guys loving what we create and hopefully inspiring you, we get moments like that. So thanks, friend.
Thank you.
It was really
Nope. Yeah,
Don't do it.
Okay.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I will always remember that. I mean, just because it's such an emotional, the storytelling in it is so emotional, and I know how personal that character is to you because it's your father, and just to be able to see it in that circumstance, and then afterwards,
Don't do it. You're gonna make me go.
Is it okay? Do you like it? Is it good? And we were just, And then he went out in front of the entire Overwatch team, and they just were so thrilled to see him.
This is the first time I know what you guys saw behind those.
We couldn't say anything. That's the thing. I couldn't tell anybody about this, but I was like, this is the most incredible experience of my life. To see this with Darren, and it was such a blessing. So thank you to Blizzard for that, and thank you to Geek and Sundry. Woo!
Yay.
Oh my God.
Okay, now that everybody's in tears.
I'm crying, you're crying. I know how to bring down a Dark Moon fair.
Oh no, well, let's focus it onto the future, because we're all still creating both content for Geek and Sundry and very actively creating in the video game world. Is there a character archetype or a specific dream character that you would have to voice? You can say whether it's within a certain fandom or not within a certain fandom, that you have your sights set on, kind of like a bucket list character for your career that you have not done yet.
If, you know, Sprig is really special to me. If I could play something like that kind of vulnerable, befuddled wizard, I love that. Because it's just a voice that I love doing. And yeah, if I could do that in, you know, we did it in our thing and it was really special. And I'm like, oh, if I could find more ways to play that kind of character, that would mean a lot to me.
That'd be cool.
Matt, was it a dream of yours to sing for Blizzard?
Yes,
that
How
Amazing,
did
man.
you not tell me that you were going to do that? That was amazing.
I couldn't tell anybody.
Oh, it was so good.
I didn't know they were going to be showing it at BlizzCon either. I know we recorded for it, and when I went in to do the, for those who haven't seen it, the Kobolds and Catacombs.
It's the Hearthstone
trailer.
video they showed.
Yeah, they asked me to sing for it, and me being a dungeon master for our show, I was like, I mean, yeah. That I am honored, and this is delightfully ironic, and I love it. And they played the audio for me, and it was such a cute, you know, ditty, and the idea of the whole expansion was right up my alley. So we had a great time recording it, and I did musical theater a lot when I was younger, and I don't get to sing very often outside of karaoke, which some of these guys have to endure. So it was really nice to be able to do that for a project. And but I didn't know it was going to be shown at BlizzCon. I kind of forgotten about it through the wedding chaos, and. So that
Marisha's here.
She's around here somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, she's around there.
There was a moment this morning when we're getting ready to go to BlizzCon. All of a sudden, my phone starts blowing up, like Jason and Tal. Some people texting me like, "Was that you singing?" I'm like, "Oh no."
Wait, can I tell you? So my brain just slowed down. It was like slow motion, like the Matrix, right? So the video comes on. I hear Matt's voice. I turn to Sean Becker and I go, "Hey, it's Mercer." So he's talking. Then I hear the voice start to sing, and everything just slowed down. And my brain goes, "Oh, he's probably just gonna like sort of talk, sing." Then you really started singing, and I was like, "Matt can sing. This is amazing." So, congrats. And congratulations to the engineer who auto-tuned that.
Oh. You beat me to it. No, it was a big honor, and I hope people enjoy it. The team's really proud of everything they've done with this. By the way, they're kind of breaking the boundaries of what you expect card games like this to be able to do, and I think it's a really cool kind of invention, a reinvention of what these collectible card games are. So I'm stoked for it. I'm stoked to be a part of it. You might hear some familiar voices in the expansion.
Is there actually a voice archetype that you would like to play that you haven't yet played in Blizzard, though?
Oh man, in Blizzard specifically, an elf. Like I do elves well. That's my thing in a lot of other games. But for some reason, in all of Blizzard, it's just orcs and demons and fiery beasts and cowboys. So I'm slowly circling the elf mark.
They've
one of these
just
days.
started having me do that finally.
One day.
Decades later, it's just oh, so you've come. So like I've just started to do that for them for the first time ever.
One day they'll let me be an elf. Yes. We shall see. Yes.
I'd
almost
like a good
went Bowie there.
Coward. A coward. If anyone's writing roles, I'd like a good. I mean, I've done bits, but I mean like a substantial, like someone who's in over their head, who's not demonic, who can't just bip, you know, an orc and send them flying. I want someone who's in over their head, like me. Like me. Or an elf. Oh.
No, I think, yeah, for me, you know, I'm a huge Tolkien fan, so anytime I can play, anytime I can play anything within that realm, I'm happy. So dwarf, elf, Ent would be cool.
Yeah. All of it.
Oh, you'd be such a good Ent.
I feel like you should sing in a role at some point, Jason.
Yeah,
It
man.
would be fun.
As a musician.
Yeah, every time I tag you in something for Geek and Sundry, everybody on my feed is always like, the singer from Godhead is a geek?
Literally met you at an anime convention.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, this is a crazy
literally
story,
met
yeah.
we
at an
were
anime
at an
convention.
Yeah.
So
and you
many
gave
years
me,
ago.
well, my very, very first voice acting role was for a Pop-Tarts commercial. But my first
Party was born to play.
anime role, Townsend directed me.
Yeah. So many years, like, I can't say how many years ago
Yeah.
because it was so long ago. Double digits at the very least.
Yeah.
Oh, at the very least.
But Jason, the joy you bring to your music with Amy Vorpahl in The Deadly Grind, where you'll do songs about D&D and songs about adventures.
Yeah.
They're wonderful.
Thank you.
And now you've loaned Amy to me for a bit.
For a
so
little
we can have
while,
some
yeah.
joy.
Well, but I'm still involved, so I like to. I do a lot of the bumper music for the show.
Yeah.
But that's what's great. I mean, that's
Only
what
on
we
one.
can do and make music and create songs and create shows that inspire us.
Well, and to that point too, it's kind of been really fun in recent kind of cultural media, this realization that anybody can be passionate about their own geeky interests. It's becoming, you know, much more not just accepted, but almost preferred for people to speak out proudly about their interests and their geeky passions. You're seeing many celebrities and many writers and you know, political figures, and seeing all these people around the world that are being able to say, "Oh yeah, no, I've played 80 hours of this game 3 months ago," or a lot of people talking about the extended times playing World of Warcraft along with us.
Well, I think
extended
it's
periods of
because we
time.
got made fun of so much when we were kids.
Well, that's
You know what I mean?
the
It's just
thing.
like, oh yeah, I played D&D. You know.
I think what's happened is that, you know, 20 years ago, pre-internet, there were dorks like us scattered across the globe, but you're by yourself, and obviously the internet changed all that. So you could say like, oh, you across the country, you're like me. So initially it was people who thought they were rare, and I think pretty much were. But now, because that network has been created and we all are enjoying these things together and talking about it, that people who would never had any interest or known about stuff like this go, oh yeah, that's cool. So it was like a hidden rare thing, and now because we have got momentum going for stuff like this, the whole world is seeing it, and it's becoming more of just like a legitimate option. Oh yeah, well, NFL on Saturday, and on Sunday I'm rolling dice all day.
Yeah, I mean, me and friends grew up listening to Godhead. I would never have expected to have extensive D&D conversations with Jason years later, and that's just kind of where we're at now. Is people are beginning to realize how all of us are nerds, really at the core of it, and there's no need to separate that. There's no need to gatekeep. There's no need to judge, because really, if we can get that pretense out of the way, we can have a lot more fun sitting around and just geeking about these things together. And I think that's amazing. I think it's really unifying and amazing.
Is there something that you are really geeky about that people might not know that you'd like to have an opportunity to work on or to do?
I like comics.
Cool. You get to do a comic show.
Everyone knows
Hey,
that.
everybody, watch the Wednesday Club every Wednesday on Geek and Sundry with Taliesin Jaffe, Matt Key, and Amy Talon.
It's literally the running gag of like, what do I not have time to do anymore, and can I turn it into a show on Geek and Sundry so I can be forced to do it on a weekly basis? I don't see my friends anymore. I like have all these friends I never get to see. I should make a show where I just bring my friends into my work, so they're forced to see me. Welcome to
Watch
Gather Your
Gather
Party.
Your Party, Fridays at 9 p.m. on Geek and
Where Erica and
Sundry.
Taliesin invite all the people they don't get to see anymore because they live at Geek and Sundry. I wish I were kidding. I'm not. We're not kidding. No. Exactly. It's literally what the show is.
I'm really into puppetry, and when we were on the Little Shop, there was a lot of Muppet Henson people. Right. And this week, actually, on the Darren and Amy show, it's an all puppet episode. We just went crazy. But I love doing that and working Rod, and it's just little passions that we don't know that I get to do at Geek and Sundry. Going, yeah, I've done that. I love doing puppetry, but you know,
and not,
I'm working this muscle now.
You came in on was it Thursday, and you refused to talk to anyone without the puppet as an intermediary?
Yeah,
like,
they came out from Nerdist going, we're
like there was
recording
no,
in there.
this was just happening, and there was no way to stop it.
Oh, right, yeah, we were going
Yeah,
on.
that puppet was extremely friendly.
It was Wednesday.
It was. He knows every song ever written.
Except not any of the
All
ones
you said, I said, please name every song you'd like me to hear. It was Blue Moon and Ghostbusters, and that was your bucket. That's as far as you went.
Well, he didn't know either of them,
And then no, he sang a mashup of Blue Moon and Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I did sing
It was
that.
amazing.
Wow.
It was amazing.
And then they came out from the Nerdist stage and told
And
you you
said,
had to be
please
quiet.
stop, please shut the puppet up.
Yes, they were like, you're way too loud.
I don't know. Things are so good now, though, that I don't think I have any secret geeky passions left. Like I took my underwear off and put them on the outside of my pants. You guys know that I like. If anyone who follows my work knows that I like musical theater and Dungeons and Dragons and video games and comic books and it's the best timeline, but it's also the worst timeline. But it's also the best timeline.
It was the best of timelines.
It was the worst of timelines.
We are in an alternate. We're in somebody else's alternate time.
I know.
Right?
What are your hidden geeky interests?
I don't hide anything. I like to go camping.
Or at least, oh, there you go.
Nerd. Yeah. See, now that's nerdy now.
To work on? Oh man.
Yeah, just something you want to bring up, you want to have a show about, or you know.
Well, yeah, go ahead, but like
astro and quantum physics.
Yeah, that would be fun.
What?
Yeah, I really like astro and quantum physics. What?
That's awesome.
I'm by no means an expert, but I've always loved reading and I'm fascinated by it. And if you aren't, you should read up on it because our universe is cool, guys. It does stuff. Just saying.
I guess, like, for 2 years around the studio, every once in a while, one of us will say, is there something we can do with Shakespeare? I don't know. And then nobody says it, and then, like, 5 months later, it gets said again. I don't know.
We didn't need to happen. The read along.
Well, we're talking about doing a Gather Your Bard was getting kicked around.
Gather Your Bard. That's
Remember
right.
that's on the list. So we're probably gonna do a Shakespeare episode of Gather Your Bard.
And everybody can bring in their favorite monologue.
Dude, I'm so getting in on that night.
Oh, you're in. Oh yeah, I mean, like we've gotten to the point though that like sometimes we'll have like drunken company parties and like literally like one of the alpha producers will come up and be like, these are my 3 favorite things. Can you work them into a show? Because that'd be cool. We're like, yeah, that's cool, man. And like literally, we're like, and then like a month later, we're still developing that stuff, and we're like, we got to turn that into a show.
Isn't that how Thrashtopia happened?
Literally, we were like, Thrashtopia, which is a show coming out, is literally us going, we think Whitney Moore is the coolest person on earth. Is there a way that we can make a show that could explain to people why Whitney Moore is really cool? Because it's really hard to explain without hours and hours and hours of like breaking down why this is the coolest person. And so we made a show that basically just breaks down why Whitney Moore is super cool. It's ours.
In the apocalypse.
Well, I mean, like that's obviously it's the only way to do it.
Yeah, as Darren said, the studio is about bring your passions.
And hopefully you guys are bringing your passions now because look, we're just dum-dums that love stuff. Create, go out and share your joy with others. That's what this is about. Don't just sit back and hide it. You never know what's going to come. You don't know where your journey is going to take you. So take the first step and make it happen. Yeah, it's a little message from the mayor of Blizzard.
No, that's kind of the big point here. I've been at every BlizzCon since the first one when I was here for my first server gathering with me and the one dude from Silverhand over here. In these seats. Long before I was on that end and now we're up here. It's the idea of people who are up here creating these games inspired me to want to become a creator, and then now we're on this side hoping to inspire you to become creators. And that's kind of the cycle that we need you guys to continue to just bring to us what you do, show us what you've taken and run with, and that makes us feel fulfilled and allows that when we all get to finally sunset, it's your turn to step up. So.
And don't wait for anybody.
Thank you. Yeah. We won't be answering any questions from up here on this stage today, but we're gonna walk off the stage. We're gonna take off the mics, and then we'll be back out at the side of the stage. So come up and talk to us, meet us, please. We want to meet you. We're super stoked. So thanks so much. Please be good to each other. Be kind, right? Yeah. Have an amazing BlizzCon. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for those who are watching at home on the virtual ticket. My name is Jonathan Moonshaw. I'm an engineering manager on the World of Warcraft
Community
team,
Night
and I'm
from
going to
the
be
Mythic
moderating
stage.
this panel of 5 awesome engineers. Before we kick things off, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Go ahead.
My name is Cody Plepel. I'm a gameplay programmer on Heroes of the Storm, and I've been at Blizzard for about 3 years.
Hi, everybody. My name is Brenna Moore. I'm a technical lead on Battle.net. I've been at Blizzard for about 9.5 years.
Hi, my name's Omar Gonzalez. I'm an engineer on the World of Warcraft team, and I've been with Blizzard for almost 15 years.
Hi, I'm Bill Warnicki from the Overwatch team. I've been at Blizzard for about 6.5 years.
And I'm Ryan Karg. I'm a group technical architect in Service Technologies, and I've been at Blizzard about 12 years.
Awesome, thanks everyone. So we will be taking questions from the audience for this panel, but before we do that, I'm going to ask each of them a question just so that everyone kind of gets a sense of what these people do and give you kind of a sense of the kind of questions that they're going to be able to answer. So I'm going to start off with you, Cody. You said you're on the Heroes of the Storm team, and you said gameplay, right?
Yep.
So how much effect do you have on the final abilities and the gameplay of the heroes?
So I have a little bit and a lot at the same time. So I don't make any of the design choices for the heroes. I don't tell the designer what he should make or what he shouldn't make. But what I do is work with them to build design space. And what that really means is, let's say, the most recent example is Junkrat. If the designer wants a cool bouncing grenade or he wants physics in our game, my job is to help design the systems that he could use to build it repeatedly over and over again in new and different ways.
All right, awesome. Brenna, you said you work on Battle.net. So I guess that basically means you work on a desktop app, right?
No. A bunch of you guys might have seen the Battle.net Social What's Next panel. It was earlier there, about 1:30 today, where a bunch of our project people talked about a lot about the social features that are coming up. We had some representation from our web and mobile team as well, and we work with those guys a lot. But Battle.net is actually a much, much larger department than you might think. So once you have the desktop app, you can chat with people, right? That's our client team. Our accounts and commerce team is letting you actually purchase things. That's all the shop stuff. Once you've bought something, the downloading it, make sure it's getting to your computer okay. That's distribution. All of that's still Battle.net. Once you've actually got that game and you log in, you're playing it, that's our game service team. Those guys also work with the game teams here so that the game servers can talk to you as well. And I don't actually work on any of those teams because Battle.net actually has a bunch of other stuff for build systems that even Service Tech uses. There's a data platform and a data team that Overwatch went live with that might come up, and some automated testing that shows up in both Heroes and World of Warcraft. So our team specifically is build and deployment and development, that kind of stuff.
Cool, thank you. Omar, you work on World of Warcraft.
Yes.
So in Legion, we've had a lot of positive feedback about the Mythic Plus system. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works under the hood?
I'd be really happy to. It was one of my favorite systems to work on. I had originally worked on the Challenge Mode system, so it was a great pleasure to work on this Mythic Plus system. And what ends up happening on the back end is it kind of all starts with this keystone items that we drop for players when they complete a regular Mythic dungeon. But just before we give this item to this player, we have to imprint it with a few extra properties. We roll some dice to determine which map this keystone actually leads to, and our design team actually is who decides what maps are eligible, and the engineering side, we do the dice rolling to figure out which one they're actually going to get. The next thing to figure out on this keystone is what level it's going to be. We record sort of a high watermark of what's the highest level every player has completed, and then we run a formula, again, that the designers have defined to determine, given their previous high watermark, what is their next keystone level going to be. Finally, we allow the option of affixes or modifiers to also be imprinted on this keystone. This is, again, where we coordinate with the design team. They determine what all the possible affixes are and under what conditions and at what levels they can appear. So we figure out based on what combinations are eligible, roll some dice, and then mark that on the keystone. Once we hand that to the player, they can take that keystone into the appropriate dungeon and socket it into the pedestal and get the system running. At that point, that dungeon has read everything about this keystone and made that information to every single other game system in that dungeon. So every creature, every spell, every trap knows what's turned on and what's not, and this allows the design team to kind of modify the dungeon based on both the level and what affixes or properties are turned on in that particular dungeon. The Dungeoneers, in this case, continue to the end of the dungeon. We then spawn some chests, and because the whole world knows the original keystone, we also